Let me tell you a story about this Japanese filmmaker slash animator, Makoto Shinkai.
Oh no.
Makoto Shinkai started back in the mid 2000s, where like he made one short, an animated short, and then later he made his first feature film, A Promised Place from Faraway Days. And that movie was successful enough for him to get his studio off the ground and make what I still think is his masterpiece, 5 centimeters per second,
Which
a
takes
1
place
hour
in the
long
same universe.
a 1 hour long romance story, which basically would become teenage romance story, which would basically become Shinkai's trademark style. It's always a teenage romance at its core, basically. Like there may be different elements, but okay. The only movie where it didn't apply was this 2011 movie, The Children Who Chase Lost Voices, where Shinkai was basically trying to basically ape Hayao Miyazaki for some reason.
Almost in a literal
but
way.
Pedro, Garden of Words wasn't a teenage romance between two teenagers.
Yeah, that's the problem. You see that back in 2013, Makoto Shinkai thought it would be a good idea to have a love story between an high school student and his teacher.
And before you ask, yes, it was taken seriously.
Please tell me it was one-sided on the student's part, and that's
Nope.
Oh,
Nope.
it was
you
not.
wish, but no. It was a lot of back and forward
The
drama.
ending was hilarious, though.
Good job, Shinkai. I'm sure audiences will definitely appreciate this bold attempt at a story.
Well, did they in Japan? I don't think I ever asked.
I haven't checked.
Well,
quite
it's
frankly, I
something
don't care.
we can check on our own anyways, and it's not today's topic.
Regardless, you want to talk about a film that they did appreciate back in the day? Your Name, because that movie went on to be the highest.
Let me get to it.
Yeah, go
Can't
on.
believe
Your
we
Name
made
full
that
stop.
Yes,
into
for
the entire
basic-
movie without making a Your Mom joke.
Yes, when Your Name, the movie everybody knows Makoto Shinkai for is Your Name. That was the movie that made him a mainstream anime filmmaker that is known all over the world. It actually broke Frozen's status as the highest-grossing animated film in Japan before
Yeah.
Frozen 2, then dethroned Your Name. But
Wait, did
And
Frozen
then-
2 dethrone it in Japan?
yes.
Devil's
Basically,
defeated.
But then,
It's well,
but then they all. But then they all pretty much got dethroned by what's now the highest-grossing anime film. Now that one based off of the Demon anime.
Demon Slayer.
Demon Slayer.
Kimetsu no Yaiba.
Yeah.
The point is, Your Name was incredibly popular, acclaimed at the time of its release between fans and critics. But yeah, over the years, people have started to get a bit more mixed on it because, like once you throw away the pretty visuals, and like some people even mentioned music. Don't get me wrong, I have nothing against Yojiro Noda, the guy who composed the music for Your Name and now today's movie. But I miss Tenmon, the guy who composed the music for his earlier films, pre-Garden of Words movies. Like his music for those movies was so much better than Noda's. Not disrespect to Noda-san, it's just that I don't think you're as good as Tenmon. I really wish he had kept the partnership with Tenmon instead of, getting a famous Japanese artist. But
So,
whatever.
Pedro, my observation seems to be something of a pattern with Makoto Shinkai. He releases a movie, it starts off popular initially, but then it takes a little bit of time for it to weather away, and eventually people start to have very mixed feelings about it at best. So, is today so many exception?
What do you feel was like Your Name, critically acclaimed, and overall liked? Not as much as Your Name, but still liked. I haven't actually been paying attention to see if people over the past 3 years have actually looked back on the movie and given it second thoughts. But whatever. The point is, basically Dej, and for anybody who hasn't seen the movie, that's the basic story of Makoto Shinkai. So here we have his most latest film released in Japan in 2019, and I think in the West in 2020, Weathering with You. Yes, this is actually, if in my opinion, his worst film yet.
Even worse than Garden of Words?
Okay. Let me put it this way: Garden of Words is the most problematic one. I will give you that. It's definitely the one that has the most horrible
Implications.
implications and all that shit. But in terms of actual storytelling and the actual bad writing and shit, this is the one.
Well,
that has
considering the Garden of Wars did not even add any, sci-fi or supernatural product, I guess these at least might have some entertainment value.
Okay, dude. To be fair, I do feel like there may be a point as to why this movie got eventually very mixed reception. See, I did some
I wasn't questioning that, Jova, don't worry.
My point is how Pedro may have a point on this definitely being a worse story told than Garden of Words.
It's less problematic, obviously, for the obvious reasons. I mean, but in terms of just as a story on its own, it just, I don't know, like but whatever. The point, at least Garden of Words had razor sharp focus on the characters. The characters were shit, but at the very least, the movie knew what to focus on. Murdering Fury, just like with your name, distracts itself from the potential sweet love story to once again throw more supernatural crap into something like here. But okay, so basically, Dej, what you have here is a filmmaker who's kind of a mixed bag amongst various groups of people. Some people love him, some people don't love him. And some people even acclaim him as the next Hayao Miyazaki, which as a big Ghibli fan, I find that appalling. But whatever.
Well, I'm an optimist, so I think I might enjoy this.
We're watching the English dub, everybody. The English dub was produced by G-Kid. So start in the black screen before the Toho logo, which is that logo with the Japanese, you know, the one that is in every anime film. Okay, 3, 2, 1, click.
You know,
I'm pretty sure the
Deji?
dubs do not give a difference in length, so even if you're watching with the original one, you should be fine.
Yeah, it should be. Well, that's the thing too. I don't know exactly.
It did work out for the copy. Was the time that you you made a show of me and Shiro Secret World of Arietti. I can tell you that.
Yeah. Well, when we watched that, it was the British dub. So
anyway, you wanted to say something, Shiroi?
Yes, they didn't mention it specifically, but this guy really likes the sky.
Well,
yeah,
that's
that's
kind of
just,
a bit now.
yeah,
Considering it's
that's
very cloudy.
okay.
It's like the trees in Miyazaki
Guys,
movies.
and guess what? It's interesting you say that, Shiro, because literally the first shot of the movie is the sky, a cloudy sky, but a sky
Guys.
nonetheless.
Guys, we
Is he
talk
a big
about
fan
how
of Chicken Little by any chance?
No,
I don't
not
know.
that I know of.
Hey guys, I know we talk about how Shinkai's making his own cinematic universe. The sky is the Nick Fury of that universe.
Sure.
It's always there, unites us together. Hell, back when he was making Promise Place and 5 centimeters per second, the sky literally was the thing connecting those two films.
Yeah.
Specifically a sky tower, but still. Anyway, Des,
Basically, in the same way that Sam Raimi loves women screaming at the camera, this guy loves shots of the sky.
and
shots
trains.
of the sky all
he does
around.
love trains.
Sure. Yeah.
But mostly the sky. Okay, so basically, Dads, the best way to describe Makoto Shinkai, he's kind of, to a lesser extent, Japan's answer to M. Night Shyamalan. Directed with a very promising start, but eventually when stuff started to go to his head, especially when they called him the new Ghibli, just like how people called M. Night Shyamalan the new Steven Spielberg, things kind of went downhill. And also like Shyamalan, he tends to have, well, maybe twist wouldn't be the best way to put it, but he has stuff that essentially recontextualizes his films and a lot of stuff.
In our opinion, of course, like we've all commented on all his films up until this point, and like I said, if you're a Shinkai fan, well, have at it. I personally think he really fell
Okay,
from
I
grace
don't remember the
beyond-
details, but I did remember actually enjoying your name. It's the one Makoto Shinkai that you have to ignore my opinion on is mostly Garden of Words.
So we start the film in London. Tokyo.
Dwelve, newsflash. I know that you're still thinking about the British Empire that was all over the world, but it can reign in any part of the world, not just the UK.
Now's not the time to be conquering other lands, Britain.
That being said, we can all agree that his best is 5 centimeters per second because that movie is just so wonderful.
Ooh,
Okay.
Now she has the power to stop the rain.
Yeah, the Zavaru though.
It's funny to you. What were your opinions on Children Who Chase Lost Voices? I recall you liking it, but still acknowledging that it had issues.
I remember the missing potential, but I did remember, if I recall correctly, lacking what I saw at the very least.
I can totally understand
Certainly
that.
better than the dub that my country gave to that movie.
Okay, and you know what? Okay,
Whoa.
it's funny you do mention the whole
Excuse me, what the hell is even happening?
She doesn't even know, so it might be something out of her control.
maybe it's a dream.
So this particular character is Hina
Amano. Sorry, Hina. That is the boy. Sorry.
voiced by Ashley Botica, who who you might have seen in stuff like Prison Break, and also Kingdom
Whoa.
Hearts 3 as Alette.
Also, okay, localizers. Could you put a more fancy font for the title? No.
I think that's how it was in
Yeah.
Japan.
Actually, Teo, that's the Japanese
Whatever,
font.
whoever was responsible, please. You have these giant, the kanjis in pretty kind of visuals, but the English title is just stuck in a corner in almost basic font.
The thing is, Teo, starting with your name, Shinkai always makes his movies already with a Western audience in mind.
I don't mind that. I just wish I don't even want them to be as big as the Japanese title, but I just wish they used a bit of a fancier font.
I do wonder if this
Also,
was...
that girl suspicious looks a bit like one of the girls from 5 centimeters, but I might
The only
just be reading
cameo that
too
we
much
know
into
is
it.
in
That's
this
the girl
movie
from-
are the two main characters from Your Name, and it's just a passing moment.
that-
I'm not even
apparently
sure
also
if
the
I'll be able to
side-
From
spot
Little
them.
Witch Academia.
Apparently, also the side characters from that movie are in there too. Look,
Yeah, but
essentially
this-
we can just chalk this up to apparently this happens a bit after the events of Your Name. Apparently,
Yeah. This Shinkai
Well.
sorry,
as I will-
denied. Oh,
As,
you like
yeah,
this.
and this is another thing. This is one of the big things of Shinkai, Dej. Teenagers looking at things and looking in wonderment about how awesome
I get the
and
idea.
physical things
I get
are.
the idea. It is one of the things that make people comparing to Miyazaki, considering the average Ghibli protagonist
but-
reacting either amusement or
Yeah, but that's- okay.
uninterested. It's no
But, okay.
surprise.
Okay, the main issue though, in Miyazaki's films, whenever characters do that, at least it's of really, really strange stuff. This is just rain.
Okay.
Thank you for popping
Sky,
out there,
Teo-
Mister.
Teo, I'm going to take a while. I guess I said this is going to be your favorite character. I might be wrong, but at the same time, I don't think I am.
Considering the archetype I don't associate with that face, I'm kind of worried.
I wonder if this is going to be like Your Name, where me and Tia were overall enjoying the film, but when it started to get stupid, it was.
Well, again,
very-
I've never seen it, so I want to actually know what's going on first.
Yeah, my big problem with this movie in particular is the same problem that I had with Your Name. The overall writing of the relation. Again, this is a love story. All of his movies are. So obviously, if you're going to make a love story, you have to make the relationship and the characters that involved in said relationship as believable as you can and as relatable as you can, as sweet as you can. Because if that's going to be your heart, your emotional thrust of the movie, then you have to get that shit super right. And much like with Your Name, this movie also does it. You know what's interesting about what Shinkai says in the behind-the-scenes features? He says that right after finishing the movie, he started regretting things, saying that he thinks he should have made the movie 7 minutes shorter. It's amazing how he thinks this, because I genuinely think this movie would have been better served by having a longer runtime, so we could spend more time with the characters. But
I guess it's because, well, if anything is being proven, Shinkai considers at least himself as a perfectionist, so obviously it's gonna, never gonna be satisfied with the end result.
Don't worry, Teo. When I get to my talks about the behind-the-scenes stuff, I will give credit where credit is due. Don't worry.
Yeah, that guy. He's Lee Pace, the same guy who plays Thranduil the Elven King in the Hobbit films.
So, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the movie where Tokyo is making its best impression of the UK, where it's constantly raining all the time.
Yeah, basically, I'm guessing at this point, Shinkai's films had enough clout where they could get in bigger names in the roles. Like, you got Lee Pace from the Hobbit films, you got Alison Brie from Mad Men, and Riz Ahmed from Venom.
Also, you might have noticed in one of the shots the book Catcher in the Rye. Shinkai actually has his book at his house, so he's apparently a big fan of that book.
Oh man.
So yeah, this kid just migrated to Tokyo, and he wants to get a job. Why exactly did he leave his parents' house? We never are given the full reason, but the movie implies that he had some kind of falling out.
In case you don't know, Japan is extremely strict when it comes to hiring. So even if you have at least a minimal bit of dirt on your back, you probably cannot actually get a decent job. And they're also very strict against people coming from not from other countries.
And God
also,
help
it's funny
you
how you
if a
think
company
of-
blacklists you there just
Yeah,
because
that
they're
too.
being petty.
Another thing that, just to finish my earlier point, yeah. While I don't, again, just I find the romance in this movie to be about on the same level as Your Name, in the sense that it has nothing inherently bad about it. It's just that the romance is nowhere near as good as I know Shinkai can make it. Because while the characters do interact and they have their little fun quirks here and there, like I said, but again, we'll get to it as we go along. But my main, but to me, what really made me pissed off about this movie is the way it ends.
Oh, hello.
And the interesting thing is that Shinkai knew that I would be pissed off at it, but I'll go into it later. Also, Kitty, yes, of course.
Being homeless sucks.
Yeah, so yeah, basically they imply that something bad happened between him and his parents, but they never flat out elaborate on it. So don't expect an answer to that. I actually think, in fact, I'll talk about the characters. If anything, telling us the backstory of what happened would be a good way to flesh out the character a bit more, at least in my opinion, but whatever. That being said, again, to give credit once again, like in every Shinkai movie, the animation looks absolutely gorgeous. As the attention to detail is borderline obsessive. Again, if there's one thing I can... And... Gun. Okay.
Is that a Chekhov's gun, perchance?
But yeah,
I found that unlikely, boy.
And then he shoots some poor guy in the face or something.
Why the fuck would you do that?
It was an accident.
What you are looking at here is actually the work of ex-Ghibli animators who, when Studio Ghibli closed its doors in 2014, they actually went to work for Shinkai and they worked on Your Name
McDonald's.
in this movie.
Okay, don't remember this much product placement even in Your Name.
You know, Joba, the timing when you said that, when Pedro finished his sentence, it made it sound like Studio Ghibli animators went to work at McDonald's.
Your Name happened in a rural town, though. This is Tokyo.
Well, okay, Teo, to be fair, as someone who doesn't particularly mind product placement in movies, like, this is Tokyo. Isn't this how
To
Tokyo
me, it's more of a thing
is
about
anyway?
noticing them than anything.
Yeah, I mean, isn't Tokyo full of shit like that? You know,
Shibuya
Yes, it
basically
is.
kinda
Also, the sky is
Shibuya
sending
kinda
us
like Times
messages
Square,
again.
basically. Yeah.
So if anything, he's just portraying the city accurately, so I don't mind it.
That is true.
loving
I'm
it.
just surprised. I'm just surprised that because normally probably not just something that
Wow.
happens willy-nilly. Companies have a bureaucracy and everything.
See, now.
Wow.
There you go.
This scene literally takes place in a McDonald's, right down to the whole ba-da-ba-ba-bum loving it on the trademark.
It's McDonald's is probably one of the sponsors.
Oh my god! The most gorgeous burger I've ever seen.
Tia, why does food in anime look so good?
I don't
They
know.
never look that good.
Japan really
Maybe
looks...
animators are left starving or intentionally, so they channel that into their work.
That's actually really depressing when you think about that.
Seriously, that burger looks like it's worthy of a feast, honestly, than just something you get in a random McDonald's.
Yeah, why wouldn't they be?
I guess he thinks that they're too old looking for that?
Oh, so pay attention here. There you go. So this kid, even though he's obviously young, he's already kind of a real shithead in terms of living with girls. He has multiple girlfriends.
Wow.
So
What a
Using
dick.
social media accounts.
So, what does this mean for the plot, I wonder?
that's the thing, Jova. Not much. It's most.
Okay, judging from what I just seen so far, he doesn't probably have an high opinion on humanity considering he's being mistreated by authority and the people who, could have hired him.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's obvious.
Leave it on the doorstep and get the hell out of here.
Shot.
Listen here. Listen here. This bit here is interesting.
Definitely not, boy.
You might want to
Mr. Suga,
Leave.
you're not exactly what I imagined you'd be like.
Oh, here you go. Listen here.
Eh?
Natsume, yes, she's voiced by Alison Brie.
Yeah. No, and for the record, she noticed, as you're about to hear
Wait
in a few moments.
Alison Brie? Like the Alison Brie from Community?
Yeah, it's like I said earlier, Jova. I think at this point, Shinkai's name carries a lot more clout, so you can get more bigger name actors in it.
Listen here.
Oh my god, she's really just she's just Annie from Community again.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I guess it's gonna be a bit more.
Long time no see.
Wow.
Long time no see.
So yeah, Keisuga gave him a job since they met on the boat and everything.
Oh yeah, he's also Ronan the Accuser.
I'm sure it's just going to be a legal, upstanding, honest pays work with this crew.
Oh, a magazine about the occult.
Alright, Pedro, is this character just as bland as Ronan the Accuser was? Let's say, because Lee Pace plays both characters.
How about this, Dwebs? I'll let you be the judge of that.
I have no
Also, I
idea
still don't
what
know-
character you're even talking about.
Ronan the Accuser from
The
the
villain
Marvel
of the first
Cinematic
Guardians of the Galaxy,
Universe.
Jova.
Oh.
Yep.
Oh, that's him? Yeah, okay, I really do hope that this character is more interesting than that.
Also, I still
Alright.
don't understand what's Japan's obsession and love about canned beer.
What's wrong with canned beer?
I prefer
Anyway.
much more with the glass bottle.
Anyway, okay, hold on. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, this is going to be also one of the primary aspects. Sunshine Girl. What is a Sunshine Girl? A girl who has the power to stop the rain and bring about the sunshine.
And conversely, there are rain girls who actually bring it.
Apparently, from what I've looked into, this is an urban myth in Japan.
I mean,
sorts.
Japan is like a shitload of yokais, as Yokai Watch told, so this is not too uncommon.
Mm-hmm.
They literally have a living foot that protects toilets.
So in this world, you can actually get it as a job.
Oh.
Ladies and gentlemen, a
Very
rock
in a
band.
way.
A
Never
rock
saw that
band.
movie.
Ladies and gentlemen, a rock band playing the flutes.
Just send your script to M. Night Shyamalan, he might turn into something better.
Huh. I really was onto something with that comparison.
Yeah, Suga's actually my favorite character.
I cannot
because
judge. I'm one of those old hearts who still uses just in the fingers to type.
See, Tail, I know you a lot at this point.
Well, no, this
Um,
guy is actually better than me. It's like it.
No, I mean in terms of being your favorite character.
Is he your favorite
and yeah,
character, Gio?
and
Well,
yeah,
we
he's-
just
he's-
started. We'll have to see.
he is my favorite character. He's the one that has most personality of all of them.
Although, like Tia pointed out, we have just started, so I guess we have to wait and see.
Well,
Sure,
thumbs up, yes.
Sure.
Also, I had a few of those peach ciders while I was over there.
I'll have to try that if I go over there.
It's nice.
So, what
And
goes
now
wrong?
that's how my life begins. Cue anime opening.
Oh.
Why
now
did
we-
this suddenly turn
and
into
now-
an American
And now
sitcom?
we've got an early
I know, right?
2000s
This
music
feels straight
video.
up from 90s.
Ladies, one at a time.
It's an early 2000s music video, pretty much.
Also, I'm sorry, but the beginning of the
allow
song
me to explain
really sounded
then.
like City Escape.
Allow me to explain, Dwebs. After working with Yojiro Noda in Your Name, Shinkai really liked the experience, so he decided to bring him back to do the music, to be the musical director for this movie too. And this one, it has even more songs by him. So
Well, I mean, it's
yeah.
credited to his band, Radwimps.
Radwimps, yeah, but Yojiro Noda, but in the behind the scenes videos, Yojiro Noda credits himself as the musical director of the movie. So yeah. No, and he's the one who shows up with Shinkai on press screenings and stuff like that. So.
Then whose is it?
Okay, Pedro, dumb question.
Go on.
Does that gun ever come up later in the movie?
Yes, it does.
So I was
It's legal
right.
concept.
Oh, I
guess
almost
it's a
kind of
lethal
forgot about it.
Chekhov's
Not gonna
gun.
lie.
So I was right when I called it a Chekhov's gun.
What doesn't come up? Okay, technically it comes up again, but what eventually peters out and doesn't lead anywhere is that kid we saw in the bus who's a playboy.
I'm guessing that's just to shape up how the world is like, maybe?
Well, you'll see. You'll see.
So if I understand correctly, essentially this boy has a job writing essentially for the equivalent of a tabloid based around the occult.
Yeah, Suga and Natsumi are the best characters. I wish the movie was about them, to be honest with you.
Wait, it's not? I mean, they seem like they're part of the main trio of characters.
I guess they're either gonna die early on, or other things will happen that will take our main character away from them.
No, they don't die. Don't worry. It's just that the focus is when Hina comes to the picture, both her and Araka become the focus because it's a Shinkai movie. Jova gotta be the
Honestly, yeah, I probably
focus has
would have.
got to be in a teenage romance. It wouldn't be a Shinkai movie otherwise.
Honestly, I would have dug a movie that was about the issue. Like, it seems like an interesting enough band of misfits.
If anything, it's a good conduit for the supernatural. They literally had to research that.
Yeah,
hell,
sure.
like,
I agree.
It's just a movie about three friends who have to deal with all this weird
This kid
supernatural
hasn't
stuff.
grown in all this time.
Shiroi.
Maybe that kid
feedback.
is just a ghost.
Why has the kitty not grown up?
Deja
Ask
vu.
Shinkai. I don't know.
No,
So,
it's
the
the
cat die?
deja vu cat.
No, don't worry, Dej. No one will die in this movie.
This isn't a Hino movie, Deji. Slow down.
Tragic.
So this movie came out in what year?
2019 in Japan, 2020 in the West.
Okay.
That's a bad back alley deal by the looks of things.
Wow,
And
back alley, as opposed to a good back alley deal.
There you go. Notice how he grabbed his bag. Yeah, he has the gun in there.
Come with me if you want to live!
Don't get me wrong, Hodaka. I appreciate the good intention of trying to save her from that creep, but at the same time, you didn't have the full context. For all you know, maybe he was fine.
I also get the idea that his assumption doesn't just. Oh, okay. I thought his assumption was also conditioned by by what was happening. The movie actually went out of its way to told that it's apparently not just the rain; it's a rough time in general, and people are having guns left and right.
There you go, Dej. Well, this escalated quickly, didn't it?
Oh. Well,
Rule number 96, kid.
Yeah. It's not a toy, mate.
And there you go, Jova. Sorry, but the whole Misfits plotline gets dropped at this point because, yeah, from this point on, the love story starts.
Hooray.
I guess
Wait, it starts with this?
Well, sure, let's face it. Let's face it. Like, isn't it such a romantic way to meet the love of your life?
For some, maybe.
And
But
that
okay. You just described how weirdos on Twitter and Tumblr feel.
And that, kids, is How I Met Your Mother.
Hey, still better than that. Still better than the final episode of that show.
hey,
This joke is obvious. Moving on.
What is it? Is this going to be the prequel? How I shot at your mother?
Yeah, turns out, So not only turns out that the guy was actually trying to get something that she owes him, and yeah, the whole gun thing was kind of, yeah. I was also okay, also, by all means, I have never been to Tokyo, so by all means, explain this to me. How do you fire a gun in the middle of Tokyo, and apparently...
No, look, there are some things you just have to roll with.
Actually, I can. Like I said at the beginning, the movie has kind of went out of its way to showcase that it's a rougher time. More people are armed, and the billboards actively encourage you to not give in to charity to people because they might be, suspect or shady. And to be fair, the deal was not even in a main street and everything. They literally sure, it wasn't a back alley, but it probably wasn't a patrol street.
That said, though, here's my question: why did somebody leave a loaded gun in a trash can where he found them?
I would actually like this
considering it was outside of
explained.
Sorry, go on, Shira.
Like now,
Just because you can't get guns in this country.
Yeah, like,
again, I get the idea that
This is Japan.
This climate in particular is to justify that reason, the fact that more people are armed. Also, to answer your question, Jova, considering the bag it was also, wrapped in, and it was right outside of a club involving shady people, that's the standard procedure of, organized crime.
Yeah, that's the thing, though. Japan is about as hard a place to get a gun as Britain.
Anyway.
Go on, Pedro.
Yeah, for me, this is another common thing that Shinkai movies have. That a lot of times the movies jump from one side of the tone to the other side of the tone.
CGI.
Yeah, look how 3D our movie is.
Yeah, not really digging most of the CGI so far.
Not me neither.
Good.
I would far prefer the entire movie was hand drawn. To be honest.
Okay. If I may, I do get where you are coming from on this stuff to you, but I do think that, and of course, the rain girl thing is actually true because it turns out Hina's a rain girl.
Actually, no, she's the
sunshine
opposite, the sunshine girl.
We
had already seen glimpse of that at the beginning, both with her discovering apparently her power, and with our main protagonist witnessing that first place on the boat.
To be fair, we weren't entirely sure what that scene was from the get-go. For all we knew, it could have been just weird, trippy opening or dream sequence or something, which then was sort of hinted at, but not entirely confirmed, but now we do have the confirmation. That said, okay, so the Sunshine Girl thing is actually a real thing, and I'm guessing the whole tabloid occult thing was just a way to set that thing up for when he eventually does meet a real-life Sunshine Girl.
Mm-hmm.
Now that's it, too. I do get your explanation, but I don't think the movie has done the best job explaining it. Like, sure, we've seen some things here and there, but how much of that is, like, because of this being a crapsack world, or just, he runs into the worst of people, is pretty much up for the viewer to see, as opposed to something that's outright stated well enough.
Let me just finish my points, though. This is a common thing in Shinkai's movies. The jumping from one extreme of the tone to the other extreme of the tone, where suddenly a movie gets all melodramatic on us. But the point is, that's the thing, Shiroi. If you're expecting backstory explanations for a lot of the stuff, you're not going to get it, because this movie is way more, again, in true Shinkai fashion, this movie is way more interested in showing you how romantic and dramatic everything is, rather than actually having a coherent storyline.
Keiichi? Huh. Oh, there's something you don't see every day.
The hell if I know.
The vortex.
Bubble?
Yeah, we would also like to know what it is.
And... okay.
And they died.
No, we're going to catch pneumonia, though.
Where they will soon die.
Someone will die.
The Kanto region.
Kyogre just migrated to Kanto.
It always comes back to Gen 1.
Fucking Gen 1ers.
Yeah.
An old-fashioned TV like that still working in Japan after the analog switchover.
Remember, the house of the occult magazine is all low-tech.
He has a
Twitter.
freeview. He's got a freeview box or a thingy box. So yeah.
All right. I actually forgot if I think it's in this scene that she says it. Hold on.
Oh, so you adopted a cat.
On the keyboard.
I actually
There you
forgot that it
go.
was in a later scene that she says it. So yeah, Twitter, blah, 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 yeah.
You know, I think out of all Makoto Shinkai's films, this one so far is the kind of the toughest one for me to place tonally. So far, like, maybe it'll even itself out later, but it does feel like the tones have kind of been jumping around a bit here and there, more so than his other works. What?
Anyway,
Is that his mother?
no, that's really good. Listen here.
Eh? Guess she doesn't care for his tabloid on the occult?
Let's just say when you figure out who this woman is, you'll see. Yeah. So yeah, okay, hold on. But now it's raining all the time.
And let me guess, this is going to doom the world or some crap like that.
Anyway, that's the thing. Yeah, Suda is actually that woman is actually the grandma of his daughter. You can probably get, and as you saw, are you still smoking because she has asthma? So you can probably guess what Suda's story is.
He knows his daughter, isn't she?
Basically, you know.
Shinji, get out of the washing machine.
Yeah, this is like, you see, this is exactly it, Shinkai-san. Make the whole movie this that you just did just now.
A comedy?
Funny?
Well, not necessarily a comedy, just romance, like awkward teenage romance, which is what he does best, as demonstrated in 5 centimeters per second.
What's that you said? Do you want a supernatural story that's basically a...
Yeah, I can have a we can have that kind of comedy moment without the romance.
What's that you said, Pedro? You want my next film to be a spooky adaptation of Hotel Mario? Okay.
My parents are dead.
Not dead. That's the thing. She
They're not there.
Ah, Hinamizawa kid, got it.
Wait, where are you? What are you cooking?
That's the thing.
I mean, she's
I don't
creative.
wanna
I'll give her that.
know.
Like, I was pouring you so far with the noodles, but why did you sizzle the chips in it?
Yeah, I'm sorry, even food porn does not make that look appetizing to me.
Was it chips or was it just dried ingredients? Because some of them do come in packets like that.
That specific wing that she crumbled with her hands was chips.
Potato chips right there.
Huh. You know what? If it tastes nice, good for them.
Yeah, Omoishi.
It looks like it.
No, it's a train, probably. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's what
Yes, Makoto. Yes, Shinkai. I saw Blues Brothers.
Shinkai's other fetish trains.
Sorry.
That's one thing I've learned about Japan. They have one of the most advanced earthquake early warning systems in the world.
Sadly, it wasn't, and yet it still wasn't enough more than 10 years ago.
I mean, there's been upgrades.
Hold on.
Since then.
Yeah.
Oh, come on! There's nothing to look at!
Look, okay, taking aside what Jova just said, but Okay, okay. Look, he was just was he even looking at anything particularly?
Okay.
Like I think wasn't he just looking?
He
at
was
her
checking
face?
her out at least.
Okay. To be fair, to be fair, I can understand what Shinkai is trying to do with that joke. I understand. You know, he's a teenager. His arm. Oh, look at that.
Oh,
He's her brother.
you player. Come again?
Basically, they're gonna turn the whole sunshine magical act into a business.
Oh no, we're gonna
I'm
sell
sure that
sunshine
won't have
NFTs.
any consequences
Oh,
whatsoever.
You know, with great power comes great responsibility. This doesn't sound like using that power responsibly.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to NFT review.
Where's the monkey?
There is no monkey.
Only rain.
Okay.
We can't have anything that ugly in this movie, Deji.
Oh, okay. Look, supernatural or not, if this movie were about this weird ass scheme that they're trying to put together,
Hi?
Okay, I'm pretty sure it's a reference to something, but
We saw that, like, maybe it's like a good luck thing, because, yeah, we saw those hanging at the start of the movie in the hospital,
Mhm.
so...
that too.
Yeah.
It's okay. Like I said, I can understand what the movie's doing with Odaka's that quirk of Odaka's. I get it. He's a teenager. His hormones are jumping all around. I get that. I understand. Like, and a man's will is not made of iron. Okay, so I understand.
Me!
So I don't mind it. I don't mind that. Like again, sexual urges are part of being human.
when I said that there was nothing to look at, what I meant is that it didn't even look like he was looking in that way with how the animation was. It looked more like he was looking down in the angle.
I'm pretty confident it was like a City Hunter-esque moment.
Ah,
The only thing that was missing is her hitting you with a giant mullet.
So there you go. If you want, so there you go. Shiroi, dwebs. Maybe you should hire Hina to go there to the UK and bring on some sunshine.
you know.
I'd rather not. I don't like the sun very much.
Dwebs. Maybe you can bring her over there.
Yay! Freeze
Freeze
frame!
frame! No? Okay.
Man, Shira, you would not like living in Florida or Cali.
So dwebs. You,
Oh, another anime montage.
Anyway, could you, maybe you could hire Hina to bring some sunshine over there in England.
Okay, well that's the thing though, Pedro. Round here, we require stuff to be real. We need stuff to be more gradually done. If it's just suddenly sunshine, we're just totally caught off guard.
Anyway,
guess.
I will say this. I do appreciate that the movie isn't going the stereotypical or typical route of, oh, suddenly the government wants to dissect her when they realize that she has these powers. Like, no, it's just a wholesome movie about her using these powers to help people.
She wants
Honestly,
a blue sky when
this
she
feels
has.
more like a Japanese equivalent to I had in an Eddie episode where how so I Godzilla? We're literally having a get-rich-quick scheme with this kind of thing.
Honestly, I could see an anime series about this. A girl who can control the weather, getting into hijinks here and there. Come to think about it, I don't think we have an anime about someone who's able to control the weather. Well, okay, unless you count the X-Men anime, but that's kind of
Well, that's
cheating.
more of a licensed product more than anything.
At this point, I can elaborate more on what something else.
I get why it's called Weathering with You.
Like,
Oh, wow, you
you
are
ju-
quick,
you-
Dej. Very,
you ju-
very quick.
You're just now realizing this. Then?
I mean, in the first 2 minutes, I realized it, but it's like, now they're changing the weather.
Hey,
and
you can
making
even...
profit off it, so I get it.
Idols. Okay. Okay. Now I can elaborate a bit more on what I said earlier. While I do appreciate, like Jova said, while it is fun to see the quirky way where they go about, solving people's rainy problems of sorts, I do think the movie overuses the whole montage aspect to it, whereas I would have preferred, first of all, a bit more focus on Suda and Natsumi as well, because they're fun characters.
And of course, now he has to take care of a cat.
Yeah. Poor Suda.
That's
But yeah, a bit more focused on Suda and Natsume because as you can see, they're kind of in the background at this point. Yeah, and like I said, while the beginning of the relationship is fine, even though that whole gun thing was kind of, unfortunately, the movie doesn't have many moments where the characters actually have heart to heart where they share their feelings with each other. So most of the time, it's just montages.
I guess. Well, okay, so far we've had, only 2 montages, so I guess if there's more, I'll see where you're coming from. Overall, it doesn't feel like it's been too bad.
Oh, no, I'm not saying the movie's bad already, I'm just saying that...
Also, Dej, is that the Millennium Tower?
I don't know.
Honestly, though, it really just makes me wonder, why did she never think of a plan like this to just, license out her skills? Isn't it kind of one of the most obvious things to do?
I get the idea this is also for her to gain more trust in her powers, and beforehand she was more doubtful in actually applying them. Remember, the first time that they applied with the whole, get rich quick scheme, they weren't even sure it was gonna work.
Well, gee, what a shock! There actually is a demand for on-the-demand weather. And hey, now with no rain, we can have fireworks. Heck, if anything, this could help the entire city. So, yeah, when's the inevitable conflict?
Obviously, we're going to have a big, dramatic, supernatural conflict.
Not to mention, the Mythos did talk about an equivalent to the Rain Girls, so...
They're probably mad.
Yeah,
that's the thing, Teo. They mention Rain Girls, but there's not a single Rain Girl in this movie.
Wow.
Oh. That's... what?
I don't get it either. Trust me, I don't get it either. Don't get me wrong, I understand that this is about her.
Oh, poor
talk to the
Anaka. I think I'm in love, huh? With a job. What? You didn't
which
think
makes
I was
you
in
my
love
perfect,
with you?
extramarital lover. That's
No.
the line from
Fine.
the core.
But yeah, no, okay, I understand. The focus is on
weird to mention Rain Girls but never include them.
Yeah, I was going to try to elaborate. Yeah, on one hand, I do get that the story supposedly is about these two, so they want to focus on her, Ina. But at the same time, like Teo said, yeah, if you're going to establish that part of the lore, why not do something with it while you're at it? I mean,
because they want to make a sequel where it focuses on Rain Girl specifically, and then when the third movie, it's a crossover of them.
Shinkai's never done a sequel before, though, so...
Again, the most we got were just these tribe, but yeah, Shirai?
It's still strange, though, because we've seen weird rain-related instances throughout this movie, before those 2 boys got soaked by that floating puddle. You'd think we'd see them.
Not to mention, Shiro, the main problem with people in this version of Tokyo is that it's constantly raining all the time. So does that mean Rain Girls are constantly doing their thing all the time? Is that what's happening?
What just happened?
That?
Natsume is trying to get a job or something, or maybe an interview.
And it's going terribly, I can tell.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. I like Natsume. She's fun, as well as Suda.
Maybe...
Yes.
Yeah, go on, Shiro, go on.
I'm just talking out my ass here, but maybe there aren't really rain girls in the same way that there are sunshine girls. Rain girls are just all the miserable people.
I also get what I'm not sure if I get 100% what Shiro is getting, but a popular song in my country says, a fairy tale is beautiful because it's only halfway true. So maybe it's kind of like that. The whole Ranger is something that the myth creator, went up and made to justify, the balance.
Poor Kay.
I really like that bit, and you'll see why
The
eventually.
cat convinced you to toss a monkey. See, Jeff, you don't really need those anti-vape pads. You just need a cat.
One thing I've noticed when I bought this film, when I got this film on iTunes,
Also,
I don't
good.
I don't recall many anime films making it on iTunes, especially ones where you can choose the dub.
This bit is funny. Check this out.
Ouch.
No. Listen all the way. Hold on.
Ooh. Okay, just so you know, when it comes
This is
to
illegal, you know.
Okay. When it comes to yen,
See, I love these two. Why
I'll
can't you
check
argue
in a
about
minute,
these
Pedro.
two?
basically 3,000 yen is pretty much the equivalent of around $26.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's not even $30. Like, what the fuck?
The closest you get is basically the fact that he gets to eat and sleep at your place.
That's what he's paying him every month?
Apparently, yes. To be fair, apparently Natsume's gonna report him herself, as she said. So
To
Is
be
she
fair,
actually, though?
no, she does not. It's
Yeah.
mostly it's about, okay.
Mostly a joke.
It's not for a joke purpose, but at the same time, yeah. Oh, there he is. There you go. The boy from Your Name.
Oh, I'm in the movie.
And yeah, he's still voiced by Michael Center class from the last film.
Wait.
Oh, that's nice.
So he's a parent now?
Yeah.
Huh.
Oh, so in a way, this kind of really is a sequel to Your Name. Oh, let me
I guess it is, actually.
Let me guess. The mother is Matsubishuha.
That's why I haven't seen the movie.
I'm not spoiling anything.
Oh. Let's be friends.
Oh, that mother, of course.
Well,
There you go, guys. You know what?
To be fair, yes, that has been also another constant theming through the Shinkai movies, regarding not just the matter of afterlife, but the idea that the sky is the key to potentially the afterlife.
He really likes the sky.
The sky is amazing, isn't it?
It's a
amazing.
concept as old as humanity, the idea that sky was literally the limit that contained the normal world. Up above were the gods with everything else.
That begs the question, though, too. Who's more obsessive, Shinkai with his sky or Miyazaki with his planes?
Yeah, the planes are something. Okay, both of them are things that actually do exist, but planes are more complex in nature due to how they're built. So I guess I'm gonna go with Miyazaki.
Miyazaki's thing is flying in general, whether it be on broomsticks or animals or gliders or whatever.
He made an entire movie about planes. It was very good.
Yes.
The Wind Rises. Yeah, I love that movie.
Aside from
I was gonna say 1,000.
Well, when Joseph Gordon-Levitt is not on NyQuil.
Take your meds, Gramps.
Understatement of the century.
You know, guys. Since I mentioned Britain earlier, if this film took place in Britain, I don't think the public in the movie would honestly know the difference.
I can't wait to see when this lore comes in handy for the big climax.
Yeah, it will. The Weather Maiden.
I pray for good weather. I pray for the rain to stop.
Speaking
Oh,
of which,
remember,
why
Dwebs, it has
is
to
the
be a
rain doing all that freaky stuff?
Remember, Dwebs, yeah, you have to be a Weather Maiden for it to work.
Yeah, but basically, I'm not sure if it's the same on your copies, but on my copy on iTunes, it translates to Japanese.
Also, Maybe I get the idea that it's not just a matter of there is, a Sunshine Girl and a Rain Girl separated, but maybe the Weather Maiden can apply both functions and it's not convenient with the time of crisis, but it's required.
Perhaps.
Hey, so tell me, what's your name?
A movie.
Hey, that got a legit laugh out of me.
Wait, you're 16?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Odaka 16.
You look like 12.
Odaka 16. Well, to be fair, too, there's plenty of 16-year-olds in anime that look like that. It's not
Tio,
uncommon.
remember, the teenagers in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
the very TV the Jonathan Joestar.
When I first saw those character designs, I thought they were all like 40.
Nope, they're teenagers going to high school
Fair
and
point.
everything.
That's one thing I've noticed. At least around here, with every passing generation, people who are 30,
Is that Mike Pollock?
people who are 30 look more like they're 20.
Oh,
Yes, Mike Pollock is in this film.
shit.
Yep.
What?
Have a seat.
Yeah.
Also,
What a bizarre pairing of Mike Pollock, aka Dr. Eggman, and Rhys Ahmed, aka the bad guy off Venom.
And his character is supposed to be an adult, but still has a pompadour.
So we're just going to completely gloss over the fact that that guy apparently got with a minor?
Yep, apparently.
All right. Okay, movie.
I love that bit. She asks Natsume, what do girls like? And she's like, well, hugs, kisses, and a boyfriend. And money.
Yeah, blam. Problem solved.
you're taking advice from the stew-timer.
I just love it for the moment of crisis that there was actually a train passing.
You won't get to see all this stuff, kid, for obvious reasons.
And there she is, the girl from your name. She's a shopkeeper here now.
And we don't even see her in... Oh, now we see her, okay.
Kinda.
And yeah, that's still Stephanie Shea.
Hold on to her. There she is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Interesting face reveal, though.
Even with the name tag, just to confirm.
I forget, what was her name?
Mia.
Is that the main character of this movie?
Okay, I've checked I checked the characters page. There's no mention of the little brother being a two-timer.
Well, it's not so much that it's a two... Well, remember this, we saw it earlier. We saw it in where he was, flirting with that girl, then the girl left the bus, and then another girl came into the bus, and now he started flirting with her as well. So, yeah, the kid clearly is...
Either he's two-timing or it's a harem he's got. Man, talk about a small world. He just happens to run into everyone who's related to this girl.
Even though Tokyo's huge.
It's kind of like in Home Alone. It's kind of like in Home Alone too.
Honestly, that kind of detail doesn't really bother me too much in movies.
So it turns out
She's 18? Huh.
Oh, don't tell me Natsumi's the mother, too.
No. So gets divorced.
How funny would that have been if she actually was the mother? Oh!
I know, right? Suga's my favorite character.
Plus, she's voiced by Alistair
Eyes
Green,
up.
so it's a bonus.
Wow, so we're all one happy little family, essentially.
What could possibly go wrong?
Oh god. So now she'll hate the fact that she's falling in love with him because he's essentially her father.
Oh, here you go.
His mother died. By the way, it's so good to meet you. Like, okay, I get that was an awkward thing, but that was kind of a clumsy lead-in.
What?
You might as well have just said, anyway, how's your sex life?
Okay. Sorry, let me check quickly.
Mind you, in that case, it would be very appropriate.
Hina, you're 18. You technically are about to grow up anyway. Like,
huh. Guess she's a rebellious one.
Oh.
Oh yeah, she has asthma.
Oh, asthma.
Because this is why Suga is my favorite character, because he again, much like Teo would probably say, like he's just a father who's generally trying to do his best for his daughter. And like I said, like he has that problem where, as you can probably guess, yes, that lady from before was the grandma, and as you can probably guess, there's probably a kind of a strained relationship between her and him. So.
I will also say that at the very least, this movie doesn't put it like while there is a decent enough spotlight. You can tell that it's not entirely his defining characteristic and everything. So at least there's not emotional manipulation.
I checked the wiki. Alison Brie's character is apparently in her early 20s.
Huh. Then grown up.
No. That's the thing. That
no. Alison Brie is Natsumi. I was referring to Ina, where she said, "I can't wait to grow up."
She's 15.
She said that she was 2 years older than Odaka, and Odaka is 16.
Yeah, that's the thing. The movie just said otherwise, though.
If I'm able to say what I wanted to earlier, but
go on,
because we needed to watch the scene, I checked. And we're only now coming up to the halfway point. Whereas earlier, it felt like we were just wrapping up the second third of the movie.
True,
what's the other half of this movie gonna do?
Well, thinking about this, Shirai, this is a post 2011. This is a exactly.
You know what? Asked and answered.
Oh no! It blew her jacket off. What?
Oh.
What happened? I can't the idea, but it's kind of what happened at the beginning. Probably something like she cannot control her power all the time, and this is a side effect.
She flies in the air?
We saw that at the beginning.
We're flying in the air.
We're falling.
Oh my god, she's a ghost now! What?
It's one of those things where this will get explained later, but yeah, it is a Jova. I can understand Jova's frustration that the movie does take its sweet ass time before starting to make things a bit
also
clearer.
There were symbols on her skin too.
Okay.
Very, very well spotted, Teo. Go on, Jova.
I will say this. I do get it. Sometimes, something that seems not so important beforehand will show up later. Okay, that's fine and all. There are, unfortunately, some points where something is just a little too vague, and whatever project it is expects you to wait a little too long, to the point where when you finally do figure it out, well, story feels like a mess at that point, and it's just hard to keep track of. But whatever, maybe they're explaining
God
it now.
tells you to pass through this gate, child.
Basically, yeah. That's the thing too. The reason Suda is my favorite character is because he's the more relatable one to me, at least. Because he, as you can tell, he doesn't have the most reliable job, but at the same time, he wants to provide something for his daughter. But of course, the grandma is suspicious because she doesn't really think that he can, because he's probably the movie doesn't flat out state, but yeah, it gives you just enough so that you can realize that he probably is not the best father, even though he's well intentioned. While at the same time, yeah, he's a heavy smoker, which means he's dangerous to his daughter. So yeah, so I really do like what they do with Suda in particular. Go on.
Back to what's going on with the plot. So apparently she's becoming the Sky from using her powers.
Makoto Shinkai's wet dream.
I get the idea it's more like she's attuning to that, the more and more she uses her power, maybe. Oh boy.
So yeah, looks like Odaka has some splaining to do. Yeah. Yeah, that's another issue, I'm...
Okay, that's
It's
enough.
still illegal.
I
God, I recognize that.
That was my phone for a second.
Yeah, I was about to mention that someone needed to put the vibration
Yeah,
on.
because I have an Apple, because I'm watching it on my iPhone, and I was thinking, oh shit, the movie's been interrupted by my fucking phone.
Well, at least we know that these are not bad guys, apparently, because of that.
No,
Yeah,
like
exactly.
every iPhone user uses the same heckin' ringtone, so everybody just looks up.
Maybe Shiro, it's a comment about how people who consume Apple products have no imagination whatsoever.
Attorney 5 objective theme, okay?
Nice.
I have plenty of imagination.
I don't use that thing tone though, because I was given a little bit of a scare.
So now I guess the rest of the movie is going to be our characters on the run from the law.
Weathering with the police.
This should have just been called On the Run.
Weathering with the cops.
On the run with you.
He does
Some compensation.
He does even give him advice to maybe just call it quits and go home to his parents.
I guess, he can't risk it because he's already, in hot water with his own family.
Mm-hmm.
And
He still wants to see his kids.
And like you mentioned, he's trying to fill out custody for his daughter. Obviously a slip up with the law would endanger that.
Man, fuck the police.
Exactly.
Any other alternate titles for this movie?
That is one to you, Dweebs. Ice Cube was right.
Okay. I do agree with an earlier point that I forget who it was that made it, but I do wish that we've gotten to at least seen enough to explain why he really doesn't want to go back to his parents. Maybe just a tiny little flashback or montage or something. Granted, yes, it's something
we also only get the information that we had of are his point of view, where he said that he believed things were too complicated with his family and ran away. And with this, now we got, I guess, the parents' point of view at the very least, or at least a glimpse of it, with the fact that, well, we still want him back. We don't know if it's out of love or out of necessity or to avoid legal trouble.
I'm sure some may argue, it's up to the audience to decide, but I do feel like, knowing more about this stuff would help us know if we're really supposed to be siding with Hodaka, on this stuff here and there, because for all we know, his parents were fine, and he's just a spoiled brat who didn't get his way enough. Again, I'm not gonna...
Oh no, it's heavy rain again.
Oh no.
Well, it's not like we're gonna have a
Someone
serial killer.
look out for Scott Shelby.
Wait, hold on. Are we gonna pull an I wanna eat your pancreas and have a random serial killer suddenly?
It's a literal hurricane.
So yeah, guys, looks like shit's going down.
God is not pleased with Japan.
Actually, are we ever going to figure out what was causing some of those random magical events with the rain?
Not really, no. Okay. Well, technically, yes. You'll see. It's complicated.
All right.
It's two things. One, okay, so yeah, from this point on, it's about these two trying their best to evade the authorities. What was it? Yeah. Like, don't get me wrong. It's not like I dislike these characters or anything. It's just that like I said before, I'm much more invested in Natsume and Suda. I think they're the better characters.
I do get that this is supposed to be Hudako's story, so I can get us, moving away from them. But
sure,
I will.
Understand this
hold on. Let me finish. That said, I do get where you're coming from, and I do personally feel like some of the other ideas that this movie was focusing on would have been a much more interesting idea than, well, this runaway plot, because again, I don't even know if I'm supposed to root for...
It's snowing summer.
Yeah.
Oh.
See, allow me to elaborate on what you just said, Jova. See, the thing is, here's the thing. I don't mind a story about characters who are invading authorities, and I'm supposed to root for them. Like it is possible to have characters who are technically doing something wrong, but have the audience still root for them, because if you make the audience like the characters and really care about them deeply, the audience will not care if the characters are technically in the wrong and just want them to get through. But however, like I said, while I don't dislike the characters necessarily, I just don't think they're all that interesting. I don't particularly care that much for them. Odaka's just kid, like he's just a teenager, and Ina, in typical Shinkai form, is basically just nice girl.
This is kind of where I'm going with how I don't know if I even should really root for Hudaka. It's not just about whether he's in the right or wrong. It's just that we really don't know that much about him to make him that compelling a character. Like he's typical kid who ran away from home and trying to strike out on its own? Never heard that before. And again, cliches aren't inherently bad, but the idea is to try and add on...
Oh. Yeah.
What?
I like this bit.
The karaoke. Oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
I do see what you mean about these two having more personality. I don't think Hudaka's inherently bland. It's just that...
no.
Let me put it like this. When it comes to, like, the overall rule of thumb, the movie asks us to care for him a bit much without showing enough about him to get me to care in that sense.
Yeah, that's what I was saying earlier. That's what I was saying. Yeah, I know, right? These two are so much fun. Like... Yeah. Make a whole movie about these two.
And with the
god, it's the Star Wars Rebels situation where the two adult characters are actually the more interested in the main lead.
Also, if I may, another thing is like, well, the more serious the plot gets, the more I need to know about this kid to care about him. Like, when it was just, wacky shenanigans between the three, or heck, even the get-rich-quick scheme, you know what? Fine, I don't need to know too much. But now that we're at this point, I feel like I do need to know. Like, oh god, like, I can definitely see where this movie has problems that even Your Name didn't have. Like, at least with Your Name... Okay.
Let Joe finish. Go on, Joe.
I'll say this. At least with Your Name, we knew enough about the two main characters. You could argue that we didn't know enough about a lot of the side casts, but at least when it came to the two main characters who the movie asked us to focus on the most and, center around, fair enough. Enough to keep me intrigued before it crapped the bed. This one, not so much. Unless they do something.
All right, two things. One, my subtitle for that bit on the screen just said "Heavy Rain Special Warning." I'm not sure whether they're warning about the weather or warning heavy rain's about to be released. Run.
Yes.
Or two, and two. So they're talking about potentially sacrificing what's her name to stop the extreme weather.
That doesn't make any sense.
You'll see, Joe, but they'll get more into it because basically they found out some stuff about the Sunshine Girl that we have yet to see, but we'll see eventually.
Oh,
goody. That being said, Jova,
nice body check. Wow.
Oh, yeah, she's now influencing the weather according to her mood.
Oh,
please God, strike these people down. Jesus Christ, this woman is amazing.
Okay, so let me guess. So she was the cause of that giant bubble that rained on the two
I get the
schoolboys,
idea. Like I said, the movie also makes a point where she doesn't have a 100% degree of control over her powers, and her mood might be influencing what's going on.
That's it.
It's a thing, Teo. Believe it or not, Teo, you'd think that would be the conflict that they're building up to right now. Surprisingly, it's not that, but you'll see.
Honestly, you know what would have been interesting? If there was more than just one weather girl here. Like, imagine if, everyone thinks it is her, but it turns out there are other ones. Ones who use their power for more selfish reasons, essentially.
So they got themselves a hotel room. In the meantime, let me just finish my point.
Sorry, go
on. What you said earlier, Joe, brings up a good point as well. The movie also does have a bit of a structural problem, if you ask me, in the sense that, like you said, first we have this kid trying to strike it on his own. Then we have the wacky shenanigans with Kei and Suda. Then we have the wacky shenanigans with the weathering business. So, like you said, the movie has these really good ideas, like you said, but it doesn't focus on them enough because when it's done, it just focuses on a completely new thing, and now the shenanigan stuff is now behind us and doesn't get focused.
And hey,
so
wait a minute, now that I think about it... Oh, sorry.
The movie, in my opinion at least, the movie would have been way stronger if it focused more on just one of these narratives. Preferably the wacky shenanigan. Throw Ina out of the picture, as far as I'm concerned. Have an entire adventure with Odaka, Suda, and Natsumi. That dynamic was fun, like we've said before.
Okay, I haven't seen. Sorry, go on.
Now that I think about it, though, the whole idea of those two not being recognized is kind of dumb, given how they literally had an entire business which was being passed around social freaking media about a girl who can control the weather being paid to do that. How are they not, practically Japanese icons?
This was all part of Pedro's plan.
What?
What? My plan? My plan?
He knew we would question all these things.
Well, actually...
What I was about to mention also is
Shinkai's plan, but yes, Teo.
Let Teo go. Go on, Teo.
What I was about to mention is that honestly, I kind of would say that something similar to what Pedro, but kind of the opposite. Ditch Hodaka entirely and make Hina the focus. She does stumble into the agency with research occult, and because of her powers, actually, the gimmick is about they let her be to study what she can do and stuff like that.
Honestly, Teo has a point. Like, even Hodaka has more character than... I'm sorry. Even even Hina has more to her character than Odaka. She's a sister, has to take care of her own brother in their own house here, and we pretty much have something of an idea with their parents, having that unfortunate end here and there. Like, again, Hina's closer to being...
There you go. She just said happy 18th birthday, so she is 18 apparently. Go on, Joe.
Well, now she is, yeah.
Like, okay, even Hina has more agency as the main character than Hodaka does. Like, oh god, it's one of those cases where almost everyone but the main character is, well, more interesting than said main character.
So yeah, now we're gonna find out what the problem is specifically with Hina.
Really? I thought it was obvious. She's got sky cancer that's turning her into the sky.
What?
You'll see. Hold on. You'll see.
I mean, you're just a girl who can control the weather. You shouldn't believe in those stupid legends. Wait. No, you can't!
So there you go. Every time she stops the weather, her body starts disappearing.
And becoming the sky.
Well, you just undressed in front of me.
Come on, that's entrapment, girl.
You see, this is exactly my policy. This moment right here, we should be crying our eyes out the way Odaka is if the story really properly worked as well as it thinks it does. Because Odaka is basically the audience proxy. We should be incredibly devastated by learning this. I can speak for you guys, but I am not.
I'm not either, only because this movie has not done a good enough job making me care about these two characters.
No.
It honestly could have worked with Hina if it focused on her more than Hodaka, but no, Hodaka's pretty much obviously the big main character.
I care more about the uncle and the niece.
Yeah, exactly. Suda and Natsume. They're the better characters as far as I'm concerned.
What about you, Tia? What do you think?
Taylor's burped. Shiroi, what do you think?
It's kind of a shame because I do like these two, but not enough for this to actually land.
Work as intended.
Let me guess. You like them in the sense that they are interesting potential for characters, but they don't reach their full potential?
I mean, I genuinely like the two of them. They're not my favorites, but there isn't really a character I dislike.
You know what?
Me neither.
You know what? That's
I
fair.
just don't think I'm emotionally invested enough in this to, have what just happened affect me.
You know what? Yeah. That actually is fair. Like, I mean, okay. Well, I don't feel like they're the best fleshed out characters. It's not like they're terrible characters. It's just that. It's just that, again, the weight of the plot asks me to care about them a little too much with how little we have on them. It's because Jova, there's nothing inherently wrong with the characters. It's just that there's nothing particularly great about them either. They're just serviceable characters that serve for the purpose of the. Again, this is my problem with Shinkai's movies. Like, he tries so hard to sell the romance to us, but he forgets the most important thing. In order for the romances to be emotionally thrilling, you need to flesh out the characters and their relationship as much as you possibly can. And like I said, if we spent more time doing that, that would have been good. But again, like I said, go on. Maybe it's just me, but I think another recurring problem with Shinkai's I'm starting to see is that I feel like he tries to cram a little too much into his movies to the point where he loses focus a lot.
Yeah, exactly.
Like with this, there's all these different things going on. In The Promised Place, even though I liked that movie, we did mention how that, well, God, the latter half of it suddenly froze in all that stuff. Even Children Who Chase Lost Voices and Garden of Words arguably had those problems here. I guess you could say Your Name was technically fine, until we get to the plot twist, which just mucks everything up. But even that sort of has a bit of an edge to it in that regard.
So there you go, Dej. Now Hina's stuck in one of the many Skylands from Super Mario Brothers.
Was that a dream, or did that actually happen?
It actually happened, believe it or not. Remember, Jova, like she said, she's a human sacrifice. But
she literally disintegrated right next to you.
So what even decides that she's a sacrifice? Is it just the inner workings of the universe?
Ever, huh?
All right, hold on. Keep talking amongst yourselves, guys. Go on.
Okay. Huh. Well, that's a weird way to put it. My sister disappeared into the sky.
You manifested this.
FBI, open up.
Oh, fuck.
So yeah, it's come to the point where Hina disappeared flat out, and yeah, now they're gonna. So yeah, Hina's supposed to be a sacrifice. So what now? How will our heroes get out of this one?
Wait a second.
Yes, Roy?
If they all disappear and become part of the sky, then is all the rain just dead Sunshine Girls?
Apparently, Shiroi.
Also, why does the city look like it's flooding?
Because it did. Remember, the intense flooding did, intense rain did flooded the street.
So I guess
that was the whole point, Jova. Now that Hina has been sacrificed, now Tokyo can enjoy their sunny skies, because apparently there's never ending, as we was told to us earlier in the lore exposition, there's this never ending cycle of sunshine girls who have to be sacrificed in order to bring the sun back to Tokyo.
Yeah, that's another common thing. Sorry,
yeah.
a very old common superstition.
So did she allow herself to get dissolved, or was it just the nature thing?
Yes,
because
she did because she knows it's her destiny and all that shit. You'll see more later.
Oh, so it was her choice then.
Well, okay, it's not so much that she wanted this.
Well,
She understood the responsibility, I guess.
Yeah.
It was more like she was
Basically,
accepting of it.
Yeah, she knows it's her responsibility to save Tokyo from the storms and the rain, so she basically accepted her fate, basically.
So, sad end, but it feels like this...
wait, did she actually fake their age, maybe?
Oh, yeah, I forgot about this detail. Sorry, Dwebs. Sorry, I forgot about this detail. Sorry.
Probably to make the excuse of being in the custody of her brother.
I totally forgot about this, because to be perfectly honest,
it makes sense.
It doesn't even matter much, to be honest. So,
Don't you see? She lied to me.
But she didn't shout at him.
So, okay, this is a bittersweet ending, but this honestly feels like this should be where the movie ends.
What is this kid babbling about?
yeah, like I would be okay. So here's the thing: if the movie ended here, I would actually sort of respect it a bit more, because it was a great demonstration of one of those tragic romances where the person you thought you knew, or in this case, the person left you for whatever reason, and as a result, you gonna
don't open the door.
Why did you do that?
Suda, what the heck? What did you think was gonna happen?
Then your PC is your electricity is gonna get fucked. Also, I guess the event triggers a psychic resonance.
Seriously though, why is the movie still going? Like, this seems like, okay, bittersweet as it is.
Yeah, I'm guessing the climax is him trying to get her back.
Oh, so it's Promised Place all over again, only probably not as good. Okay, look, I get it. In cases like this, we're supposed to sympathize with the guy who wants to do this, and of course, go all, oh, what bad misfortune, nobody believes him.
Wow,
what?
The police force in Tokyo is fucking incompetent.
That easy? That easy? No way.
But don't you see, Jova? Look at that. Odaka's... See, this is the primary thing with Shinkai. This is the thing with Shinkai, Jova. Remember, he wants you to be all enthralled by how romantic this is. He's doing all of this for Hina and everything. Remember, this is Shinkai's 101 stuff.
As far as I know, I'm just seeing a madman escape police custody so he can rant and rave at the sky for stealing his girlfriend who he was planning to marry.
Let's get some fresh perspective in here. Deji, what do you think of the movie so far?
Also, just realized that guy looks like Space Dandy.
Interesting concept, but feels a bit underwhelming in its present.
Undercooked.
Okay, that animation was a bit wonky.
Okay, suddenly now we're becoming the fugitive.
Hey, it's Misato. Oh, wait.
That smile.
Okay, yeah, I'm just gonna go with this.
Says the guy with the pompadour.
I know, right?
Never make fun of people with pompadours. Haven't you seen JoJo?
They're gonna beat the shit out of you.
Okay, yeah, this is an entirely different movie from the one that we started with.
So how did he escape?
So what you're saying, Jova?
He literally just ran away, Shiroi. They barely did an attempt to actually stop him.
Oh, okay.
Is this like the actual other message of the movie? The idea that due to the condition of the world, the police are, ineffective as a result?
The police sucks. Anyway, there you go.
These are my two girlfriends. Wow, even in police custody, his girls are there for him.
So let's see what happens when those two girls find out. Yeah.
Aggressively, nervously writing notes.
Oh, wait, hold on, wait. Are these two aware of the relationship and it's really just like a polygamous relationship?
Apparently.
Yes, so.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I have absolutely no... Personally, I have no issues with polyamorous relationships. As long as all three parties know exactly what they're getting themselves into and they're not doing forced into anything and they genuinely want to, that's fine by me.
Oh my god. They're seriously going to do a clothes swap disguise?
Yes.
Yes.
Also, the cat's still in the movie.
Yes.
Okay.
It's important, Sherry.
Okay,
let me answer Jova. So Jova, you were saying, oh, this is basically a different movie at this point. So what you're saying, Jova, it's a Makoto Shinkai movie. It's starting to become a pattern, right? Where the second half of his movies basically feel like they come from a different movie, right? And that's my problem with this guy. Pick one concept and focus on just that. For once. Okay, stop trying to mingle multiple concepts into just one movie, especially considering how this movie is only 1 hour and 52 minutes. It's not long enough to do a super complicated plot. If you really want to have a plot that has a lot of stuff in it, you need to elongate your movies, dude, so you can focus more on every individual aspect. Go on.
And Japan's not averse to having long animated films. I mean, the Haruhi Suzumiya film was 3 hours, wasn't it, Shiri?
If I remember correctly, yes.
Isn't it, is it actually a movie or it's a collection of 1 hour OVAs stapled together?
I think it's a movie, but
it's a film. It's 3 hours, practically.
And I also love how Natsume's like, oh, I guess we're outlaws now. So there we go, Shu. And Natsume is now figure, hey, you know what, might as well be an outlaw.
I get that Natsume was always kind of crazy, but I didn't think she'd be this willing to jump into the criminal life.
Well, I think she actually said she wants to be a cop.
Oh, okay. No. Okay.
Yeah.
She said, like, I'm pretty sure she said motorcycle cop or something.
Yeah, because the thing about, I think it's NYAV Post, that's the studio actually handling the dub. Basically, their big gimmick is that they have 2 dubbing studios, one in New York, where Mike Pollock's from, and one in Los Angeles, where I guess everyone else is from.
Uh-huh.
Oh.
And he doesn't know why.
Maybe his nobody is in pain right now. I don't know. Des, do you even know what I'm referencing? Kingdom Hearts 2.
I mean, even outside of the Kingdom Hearts fandom, there can be bits that just squeak through.
Sure.
And the motorcycle died.
I'm thinking.
You see, guys, Hina died for this. Hina died to give us this sunshine. We should appreciate it. I'll never give up.
Yeah,
Thank
why
you,
not?
Nikiti.
Does he even know where he's,
The hospital, he mentioned it. That's where the Celeste Heaven Gate is.
No, too. That wasn't what I was going to ask. Like, does he even know where he's getting her from, though?
Yeah, that's the thing, too. Yes, he knows where he should go, but he doesn't know what he should do. Like, how
at least it's any kind of lead. Again, rather than just not even a single clue.
I think the problem is, like, well, all this stuff is happening at once, and yes, I get it. Maybe it's to simulate how this would be in real life, but it just feels like a mess of a plot, honestly. Like, at least with Promise Place, yes, that got crazy in the latter half, but it didn't feel like it was suddenly on speed with how it was suddenly escalating and just suddenly all this stuff was happening all at once. Here, it's like, oh, she disappears, but this was right after we were at the fugitive plot, but then we're at more of the fugitive plot, and then he's doing this and that, and oh, God.
But Jova, look at isn't it romantic how he's doing all of this for Hina? Because you can tell that's what Shinkai wants you to be in right now. You can tell you're supposed to be incredibly enthralled by all the sacrifices he's making for her right now. You know, the problem is, like I said, they didn't do a good job in investing us in these two characters. Go on.
I can see how initially this movie would have garnered praise because, look, if you're looking at the surface level, then, yeah, the love that these two have for each other to the point where this boy is willing to cross all this ground to get her back, yeah, that's fine. The problem is just when you dissect everything and really look at this under not even a microscope, but just
not be running on train tracks, especially
exactly,
if it's water.
Exactly. Like, yes, first time you're watching this, you may think, "Oh, love." Second time you're thinking, "Idiot." Run on something more practical than literal train tracks, which could get electrocuted in water.
Hey, Jova.
Yes?
Just you wait to see what's the price to pay for bringing Hina back.
The whole town
I think you
gets
did
flooded,
mention in the
doesn't it?
past.
Oh, you'll see. Sorry.
No, that building disappears. Collapses.
I can definitely see how this could be considered Shinkai's weakest film, because, man, even Garden of Worms...
How did you get here?
He knew to be here.
Yeah, that's a good question.
You just answered a question with a question there. Again, how did you even know he was going to be here? He literally asked that and he didn't answer.
Because he's experienced this before.
I get the idea maybe the cops brought him there, considering last time we saw he was talking with my potluck cop.
It's weird because they seem to imply that the cops are coming just now, though.
Yeah, I'll say that you slapped me.
Okay, so apparently they didn't send him because they're just signing out. Otherwise, unless it really
Well,
was
at the
just...
very least, they followed him.
Yeah. Oh no, and now the friendship is split. Wait, and that gun just happens to be there.
That is
Whatever
where he threw it. But, yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Okay, now the movie is just kind of off its rocker.
Wow. I was gonna, no.
I know.
Yes,
Yeah. Yes, that's going.
What's with this music?
You see, this is the problem. Makoto Shinkai lacks restraint. He completely lacks it.
Please, don't have him kill, Suga.
No. Don't worry. Suda will survive. Don't worry. If Suda died, I would be really pissed off right now. Odaka, what are you doing?
Jesus Christ.
This guy literally picked you off the streets and gave you a job. And this,
I want Hina back, though!
What is happening?
And now it's turned into a third-person shooting.
Welcome to a Shinkai movie.
Yeah.
This is Makoto Shinkai, Dej. The more the movie goes on, the more the movie loses its rocker.
Because you're acting like a madman!
You got a gun.
Look. I'm sorry, movie. I can't root for this kid if you don't give me enough reason to. Wait, so he threw the gun down and what, was that supposed to be a distraction?
I don't even know anymore.
Oh, well, there you go. They caught him. Wait, what? And suddenly Suga's helping him?
Oh my god. What?
Yes, that's Nagi. Yeah.
Sure. Bring in Popeye with the spinach.
Remember?
While you're at it. Why not?
Okay. Basically, that's to explain. Nagi literally got out of police custody by switching clothes with a girl.
But how did he know he was going to be here?
I don't know. The script told him. The movie doesn't seem to have an answer.
I'm sorry. I don't want to come off as anal nitpicker, but it's like...
No, this is not a
What is happening right
This is
now?
Deji. This is basically what's happening right now, Deji, is that the movie's way too focused on its drama that it forgets to actually create a logical build-up that makes the drama come off as not contrived. You know, that's the problem here.
Okay.
Perfectly fine.
Okay.
With this movie up until this point.
Okay. So here's the thing.
How did we get here?
Remember, that was the entire point, passing through the heaven gate.
Anyway, go on, Jova.
Like, okay, I think I can see why this movie made less money on opening day, or heck in general, compared to Your Name. Your Name's problems could be better masked by the gorgeous animation, and again, it at least had an arguably better first half. This movie doesn't have as pretty visuals, and not to mention its story pokes out above the visuals a lot more than in Your Name here. And at least Your Name felt like it was trying to go somewhere. This one felt like it gave up on trying to go somewhere at the half point and has been just spiraling around the globe in a mad dash panic.
And now we're in Skyland.
Well, remember, that's where Hina went.
No, I know, Teo. That's what I'm saying. There we go, Teo. The ultimate Shinkai fantasy. We now get to live in the sky.
Oh boy.
The perfect world.
This
is what he wanted.
His favorite movie.
Now look. I'm not gonna say that you can't have a movie be in a completely different place than it was in a later part of the movie.
Yeah, that's fine.
But there needs to be, a proper bridge between those scenes. Like, I'm just really wondering, how the hell did we get here? Like, even in Garden... Okay, even with the movie Children of Chase Lost Voices, the lore was built up enough for us to get it. We were essentially traveling through the underworld, essentially. Most of it was spent in the underworld, so fair beans. Here, though, this movie kind of had some build-up, then didn't really have build-up, then did again, then didn't, and then it decided, actually, yeah, no, this is what we've been building up to, and I guess this brings her back with him?
In fact, this scene was actually the first scene that Shinkai wrote. He wrote the rest of the story after this scene, so this is the primary... He basically tried to do a Yoko Taro thing.
I got it.
Starting from the ending and then
situation
how did we got here?
When they made all those set pieces first and wrote a story later.
You know what's sad, Pedro? That is part of the reason why How I Met Your Mother had such a terrible finale. It's because the creators had written a finale back as early as seasons 1 and 2, and they wanted to stick to it so much.
They recorded the final scene back in season 2.
And it
but
shows...
unfortunately, the show got too popular, and they wrote themselves into a corner.
Well, okay, here's the problem.
Listen here first, though.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, but if you save me, it will rain. So what about that?
I guess we just deal with the rain then? Unless it's like rain that will literally doom the world.
I
don't
care what happens to the world.
Yes, there you go.
Exactly!
Okay, unlike Princess Elise, this is pretty much in character with Odaka.
That doesn't make it good!
But at least it makes sense.
Well, with Elise it made sense too.
Yes. It's the same process, but I applied to the ending of The Last of Us. Joel's decision is dictated by his personality and his action through the story. Well, and the same happens here.
Well, Tia,
Odaka is pretty much a sociopathic asshole at this point.
That's the thing, Tia. You could argue the same with Elise having that problem and that technically making sense.
Not really, because Elise has shown no occasions to hating the world.
Well, okay, to be fair, her thing was the fact that she loved Sonic so much that she would rather, not have the world be alive than live in a world where she never
sorry, guys.
knew
I have to twist my iPhone upside down.
I have a question.
Is that how the movie ends?
I have a question. How are we going to survive? We're going to fall and die, right?
Is that the Empire State Building?
No. We're in Tokyo Edge.
Oh.
And there you go.
Oh, the third impact is happening. Magnificent.
Now it's my turn too. God is not pleased with you, Daka. I was going to consume this girl, and now I will flood Tokyo as my punishment.
Wait a minute. A flood. So you're telling me that the characters in your name escaped a certain fate, essentially, only to now be caught up in a flood? Man, those kids can't catch a break.
Oops.
So yeah, Adoka went against the natural order of things, and as a result, Tokyo is doomed.
Tokyo's...
I'm not kidding. You're about to see in a moment.
Oh my god!
Oh, wait!
Oh my god! So many people died! That kind of implies that a lot of people died. Wait, and that's the end? That's the end?
It's like 15 minutes at least. I'm pretty sure we're not just credits.
Okay, Shiroi, it's okay. We flooded an entire city and killed millions of people, but at least we saved Hina.
God,
no!
This is like the troll in Central Park.
Jesus, but even worse.
Now we're here.
We skipped ahead for years now.
Life has become a struggle ever since now.
What's that anime called? Is it called Tokyo Sinks or something?
This man is mad. This guy is a madman.
Wait, anime on Netflix.
Hold on,
Congratulations on your graduation.
Pedro, are you talking about Shinkai or Hodaka?
Oh yeah, Daka, no one loves you.
I mentioned about the graduation ceremony, and the chalkboard said, "Congratulations on your graduation ceremony." Then I made a joke about the drowning.
Yeah, that's it. That's what I was gonna say. But it's like that King's Quest V death. Help!
Oh my god! It's a literal apocalypse out there.
Wait, so Hina actually left anyway?
He actually, remember, he got arrested, so I get the idea of it. She also got away because she had the problem of, custody with her brother.
Oh, yeah.
Job search. Looking for food service worker to row a boat to the house.
Honestly,
yeah, that makes sense.
That kind of just makes me wonder, though. Like, in this regard, though, I guess Hina just decided, well, he stopped me. I might as well not sacrifice myself again for the betterment of everyone whose houses are flooding, who have lost so much stuff and money, who have probably had their entire lives wrecked by this, who are probably dying because of that stupid decision. I guess she just decided to stay alive.
Shinkai, let me be as constructive as I possibly can. If you want me to support the decision to sacrifice an entire city for this one girl, you better make me care, and I mean care my ass off about this character.
I don't even think that would be enough.
I think the opposite should apply. Make the rest of the entire city as oldish enough to be consumed. That's what happens in Life is Strange, basically.
Well, yeah. And you know what, Tio? Even in Life is Strange, that's not enough for a lot of people.
No, I'm gonna. Well, Jova, in terms of that, in case it's like the rules of a number. Better to flood a bunch of vessels instead of just one.
Fortunately, Suda survived.
Oh, of course he survived. Nothing suggested he was gonna die.
I know, but
except for the fact that all Tokyo was flooded.
Oh, I know that, Jova, but imagine if Suda died as a result of what Tonaka did. That would piss me off.
So it's like Tokyo essentially just now budget Venice, where to the point where everybody drives around on a boat now.
Fortunately, Suda does get his happy ending because now he has a lot more time with his daughter. He's fully quit smoking. So basically, Suda has a happy ending. So at least that.
Yeah, I'm pretty
What
sure
is
Tokyo
this?
appreciates you not wanting to cause someone any trouble.
Oh, the cat's still alive. And it's
bigger
actually
now.
grown.
Jesus.
Guess he's
That
been
is,
eating well.
My God, kid.
Yeah, even Holoka notices that.
Oh yeah, that's right. He named the cat Rain.
Nice to meet you, murderer.
So yeah, we probably also destroyed Tokyo's economy.
How
Right?
did they explain this to the police?
They didn't. Remember, it seems that the police, and by extension also Suga, does not believe in the supernatural, and believe it was just a thing that happened.
Huh.
Even
Well,
the
you
trains
know
are
what?
on the bloody water.
Well, you know what, guys? It's fine, because everyone seems to be adapting to life just fine, so that totally makes his decision okay, right?
Again, it might also be connected to the prophecy that was said before, the fact that humanity needs to be reminded for the fact that they do not have control over nature, but in this case, Oloka is the one that defied that convention.
I
want to make something perfectly clear. I have no problem with a dark or sad or depressing ending in stories. That's not my problem. My problem is that if the movie is aware of it tonally, because as you're about to see, there she is.
And
This should be used by that at any point.
Guys, prepare yourselves, because I have one particular comeback for the very final line of the movie before the credits start.
Wait, is
so
she about to stop
ready.
the weather
We
again?
did it! We saved Tokyo!
No, actually, you doomed it, actually, Otaka. Alright, listen here. Yeah. He's also about to say something really cheesy. Yeah, I chose
That
her.
was in the trailer.
Yeah, and you also chose to kill millions. Congratulations!
You absolute asshole!
Why are you so happy?
This is the happy ending, according to Shinkai.
Wait, hold on. Is the sky clearing up? There's sunlight coming through.
I'm guessing it's because of Hina, I don't know.
No, remember, she's not anymore the Sunshine Girl.
Yeah,
Her arms are also not glowing anymore.
Sure,
Pedro?
sure. Hold on. Yeah, we're gonna be
gonna
alright.
be fine.
We're gonna be fine, except Tokyo's not gonna be fine. There you go. That was what we
Oh, blood changes.
Ooh.
People weren't even conveniently evacuated. They all heckin' drowned.
Right. Go ahead.
They said that the process happened in 3 years, so there might have been at least some kind of evacuation.
Yeah, but you still flooded one of the
I
biggest
know, damage
cities in
property.
the world.
Dwelve. My mother comes from a place that if whatever's going on continues to happen, in less than 50 years it's going to be flooded. I know what the stakes are. Thank you.
So, Shuri, you were gonna ask me something, Shuri?
Yeah, you know what? Earlier I was saying I actually like these two. Scratch that. Scratch all of that. We're gonna throw that away.
Okay,
Shuri,
yeah.
are you sure you were talking about the niece and the...
No.
So
She was actually talking about the two kids, but no, okay.
Honestly, what I'm more curious about is one thing that Pedro mentioned of commentary that he's going to bring up later that is tied to this decision, something that Shinkai said on the matter.
Okay. That's
Trust me,
though.
Shinkai's gonna, believe it or not, Taylor, Shinkai is going to try to justify this, man.
No, I know what you did mention, it's just that the audience doesn't know yet.
Okay.
And I'm curious about that particular remark.
That's it.
Sure.
Let's do a recap here. The boy dooms Tokyo. Okay, fine. That was a stupid-ass decision. But the girl doesn't decide to sacrifice herself afterwards, even though that could maybe help solve the thing. Like,
She
no,
lost her powers
Joe, before
after
you
that.
go into your
Remember,
explanation,
the
I'll
whole
be
point
right
of
back.
bringing her back is because she's not the Sunshine Maiden anymore.
they don't explain that well then. I'm sorry. No, I mean, nothing seemed to suggest that just bringing her back stops her from being the Sunshine Girl. And if that's the case, then is there a new Sunshine Girl now? Is there just no Sunshine or Weather Maiden now whatsoever?
Well, apparently for 3 years at the very least it didn't happen because the flooding continued.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. The problem is that the movie is way more focused on the emotions and the overall narrative thrust rather than logic. Which, again, I understand this is Shinkai's thing, but the problem is that the movie has all these concepts like Sunshine Girl, Weathering Girl, all the lore that they established earlier with the old people. But they don't really apply logic. Like when you have all this stuff, you need to apply some kind of coherent logic to it. You can't just focus strictly on the emotional aspect. You need to have some kind of coherence for the audience to properly buy into this.
I think
and
I
like
have
I said,
a... Oh.
And like I said, this ending is seriously, even even into there you go, Shiro. There's your happy ending. Like, seriously, the move.
No,
talk about being Look, you know what, Hina? We're gonna be all right. Yeah, we are, but Tokyo sure isn't.
I'm pretty sure that he meant it. He meant that. Again, honestly, I can even for how wrong it technically is, I can totally believe Hodaka mentioning all those things, because at the very least, that is something that the movie established right from the get-go. But Hodaka has absolutely no contempt for pretty much anyone else, borderline sociopathic to an extent. His only major relationship is with Suga and the others, and it looks like things are improving a bit. But the moment things get destabilized, his real nature actually comes up again.
The problem is that the movie...
speaking, this is perfectly logical. Sure, it's still very wrong and everything, but the movie made that pretty clear.
The problem is that the movie seems to be patting him on the back in the end for it, with how happy everything seems now that they're there.
It's more so that the movie doesn't seem to be aware of what the character comes across as.
Well, not really. His action had a consequence, and people died as a result, and his life is not, technically speaking, in what he considers better conditions.
Tia, to quote Sonic Adventure, all's well that ends well.
Like, this is an esoteric happy ending. I'm sorry. Like, no, like, the movie tries to treat it like, things are just fine, everybody's okay with it. Like, they don't even seem to really point out the fact that people would have obviously had to die. And yes, maybe we could infer that, but no, the movie does not really seem to focus on the consequences. It's just like, well, Tokyo drowned, whatever, we're gonna be fine, let's hug.
Let me put it this way, too. How about having Suda be the voice of reason and call Hodaka out for what he did? Something. Just have the movie flat out call the character out for his actions, because the movie doesn't at any point condemn his actions. Not really.
He tries to do it during the climax, but as soon as the police arrive, he starts actually believing in him.
And that's all well, fine and good, but that's
apparently all he needed is a gun pointed at his head.
That kind of has a pretty bad implication when you think about it.
Well, Suda is himself kind of screwed up.
Well, again, though, like, I feel like the movie just does not acknowledge the fact that this is a crappy situation, because, it's all about Hina and Hodaka finally being together, I guess, and it's just, look, the characters in your name, fine. I can get being happy that they finally got together, given their struggles. They were nice enough people, and what they did actually helped people in the long run. Garden of Words, okay, that was terrible romance, but at least the two did not end up together after all, thank God. And 5 centimeters per second, the kids were endearing. It was a sad thing that the boy didn't get together. But yeah, even comparing this to Promise Place in our early days, I actually was rooting more so because those three were very good friends here. And again, it wasn't like what they were doing was hurting anyone. Quite the opposite, honestly. So, like, this is just... No, the movie asks way too much of its audience to care for, and then root for these people with how happy the ending is about all this stuff. It's just... Wow! God, wow!
Okay, I know already what's gonna be the answer, Pedro, but just so that I can get this question away. Aside from the romance, what do people who reviewed the movie positively have you seen about... consider positive about this ending and the movie?
They like the characters, and they like the whole rebelling against society theme.
Yeah, that seems to be checking out.
So basically what the vibe I'm getting from this movie is, if you rebel against society, you'll flood a whole city.
See, here's the thing. here's the problem. I understand. I understand. Like, trust me, one of my favorite all-time films, number 2, in fact, is Clockwork Orange. And the main character of that movie is a horrible piece of shit person who literally rapes a woman in like the first 10 minutes. So it's not like I can't like movies where the characters are assholes. Of course I can. It depends on how it's done. The difference is that Clockwork Orange was perfectly aware of what it was doing, and Alex got a lot of comeuppance for his actions, more to the point where some people even argue whether or not he was getting a bit too much comeuppance.
And hell, for a more modern example, there's also Joker. Like, Joker is a phenomenal piece looking at a guy who has a reason, but not an excuse for the way he turns out.
Before we get to our final thoughts, I want to talk about a bit about the behind-the-scenes stuff, because I want us all to also comment on the way Shinkai tries to justify his writing decisions in this movie.
Oh,
because
boy.
Okay, but first, let's start with something a bit more lighthearted. Because there's 2 specific extras from the US 2-disc Blu-ray that I want to focus on. An interview that was made specifically for the US Blu-ray, where he says, in the movie, the characters from Your Name weren't mentioned, but they're there. And Shinkai says, and I said, but if you noticed, I think you're kind of an otaku. So, okay.
As in,
and other people in the audience laugh.
He literally just looked at the Westerners and just went fucking weebs.
Yeah, probably. Continue, Pedro.
Okay, now let me get to a specific aspect about, the whole Shinkai is the next Miyazaki thing that a lot of his fans hype him as. Here's his thoughts on the matter. Here's something that he did say on the matter. Well, okay, not on that matter, but he did say something that can be kind of traced back to that. All right, let me get to it real quick. All right, so basically what they say is what he says. Here you go. For a long time, in Japan, everybody looked for original animated films that pleased everyone, and only Mr. Miyazaki could make them. Here's what's up. Only Mr. Miyazaki could make them? What about the other Studio Ghibli genius, Isao Takahata? I'm guessing you never heard of him. Not to mention there were plenty of great Japanese films. Yes, Miyazaki's the most famous, but Shinkai, you of all people should know better than to just mention Miyazaki. He literally says, let me repeat the line. So, and only Mr. Miyazaki could make them. What do you mean only Mr.? There were plenty of great Japanese animation directors alongside. Hayao Miyazaki was only one of them. There was plenty of great. So the fact that he just thinks of only Miyazaki as the only one that could make original great Japanese animated films, I find that baffling.
Not to mention, most of Studio Ghibli products were actually licensed product from books, so not even original material.
I want to ask before I continue. I also want to make sure everybody, what I'm watching right here, right now, is the actual official special features straight from the Blu-ray with the official subtitles on the Blu-ray. This is not a fan translation that might be wrong about something. No. This is the official subtitles on the Blu-ray that I'm watching right now. So what I'm seeing here is accurate, as told to us by the people who made this Blu-ray. So, I mean, for all I know, maybe the professional subtitles also got it wrong, but, well, I can only judge what I have here, right? So, pardon me. So, yeah, if the work was not like Mr. Miyazaki's, okay, basically, Your Name was made with a totally different approach. So basically saying that he's saying to make Your Name with a totally different approach than Miyazaki's movies, he's saying. And then he says, we used rock music at the beginning of the film, signaling that it was a completely different type of film from that of Studio Ghibli. The film turned out to be a hit, which proved and gave us confidence that even if you do things differently than Mr. Miyazaki, people will watch it. And people other than Miyazaki can also make animations beloved by audiences. Hold on, so let me get this straight. Combining his previous statement with this guy is basically telling me that he's the one that's proving that other people aside from Hayao Miyazaki can make great animated films, apparently. Ego much, Mr. Shinkai?
Man.
Seriously? What is up? Trust me, Deji. Hayao Miyazaki is infinitely better of a filmmaker than this guy.
No. He's the only one that can make a animated film. Man, what about all the other animated films that we've seen in the past 20 years?
It's because the way he's talking right here, it comes across as the guy is genuinely starting to buy into his fans' hype at this point. And seriously, when I first watched this, I was like, "What the fuck?" And that's the main reason why I wanted to do this for my birthday, because it gives me a chance to talk about this. Because
I can see you were definitely saving the big
trust me,
Shinkai blunder of
He's
them
been
all.
hyping this up for me for weeks now.
And trust me, audience, if you don't believe me what I'm saying, get the Blu-ray, get the 2-disc Blu-ray, and watch it for yourself. If you don't believe me, I will gladly share this rip that I have here with my co-commentators if they want to, so they can watch it for themselves. Because trust me, I'm just reading what the subtitles say. That's all I'm doing. I want to make sure. I want to make sure people that I'm not trying to misrepresent the guy. I'm just saying exactly what he's saying, and I'm willing to send these files to anybody who wants proof.
I'm not one to play devil's advocate, but do you think this may be a cultural thing where in Japan this sort of stuff doesn't come
accepting responsibility more than anything?
Mind you, that does not excuse it, but I'm just trying to find a reason because, okay, here's the weird thing, like, the guy was his own biggest critic when it came to Your Name, which was his big blowout success. Like, even when critics were tripping over themselves trying to praise it, even he was kind of like that when, guys, maybe you shouldn't really be praising me this much. Like, even I realize that the movie has these problems. Sure. So I just find it weird that he goes from that, with his biggest success, to suddenly now, well, egocentric with this.
That's the thing, Jova. As I'm about to show you, he does the same thing with this movie too. He's also critical of this movie as well.
So wait, he's both egocentric but critical of this movie?
It's more so, Jova, that I'm getting mixed signals. See, what bothers me the most from this bit that I just read is the whole only Miyazaki was providing great animated films for people. No, plenty of people.
Yeah, no.
I was trying to remember if Akira was received positively in Japan back when it came out. I'm pretty sure it did.
Okay, so he's about. Okay, for the sake of also giving credit, here's another cool thing that they say. So there's an interviewer, a woman who's interviewing him, and they're having drinks together. And all of a sudden, the woman asks, and I quote, "What are you like when you get drunk?"
Okay.
So, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Let's find out what Shinkai is like when he's drunk. Let's see what he answers.
Oh, God.
I don't change much, but as everyone gets drunk together, I guess I feel better gradually. I might be louder than usual. It's a good way to say you'll feel better, not crazier, says the woman. Go on.
No, I can understand what he means. It's more the thing about having the drunken party together. If you've seen any kind of Slice of Life anime, you've seen that kind of scene.
Sure. I wasn't pointing this out to make fun of him, too. I
thought it was important.
I just thought it was a fun thing to point out because I found this funny, so I figured why not show this as well?
Sorry.
Because I don't want this to be entirely negative all the time.
We have yet to see the best line.
Yeah, I want to get to this.
Come on, let's do it.
I get that. I'm just trying to be as fair as I can. Okay, I feel everything. And then the interviewer says, and I quote, "I feel everything in this world becomes beautiful in your words." And then he laughs and he goes, and then she goes, "It took 4 years to make this movie." The woman right now talking, and it has finally released. Okay, it became the most popular movie of the year in Japan. Blah 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 blah. Okay, it's a phenomenal success. And now this is the point where he's going to talk about his regrets regarding this movie. Did you feel like, right, I did it? There you go, Joe. This is the part that you were looking for. Don't you feel that way? So he says, "No, I'm not like that. I can't be like that." So basically he's trying to say, maybe I occasionally feel that way, as in satisfied. But basically I've been regretting, and here comes the part that and I've been reflecting on what I could have done better. Oh yeah, there's a lot you could have done better, Shinkai. So here's the next section. A massive success, but regretting things he aimed at. So the woman asks, "Do you mean you could have changed some of the animation?" Yeah, that's one thing. But I mean the whole thing. But most of all, it's about the script and the storyboard. Yeah, no kidding. I can't stop thinking that I could have done better with them. Yeah, no shit. Is that right? You mean the beginning of the process? Yes, the script and the storyboard. But the same as Your Name and this Weathering with You, I think my original idea was good. And then he's... Hold on, I'm waiting for the last line. In Tokyo, where it keeps raining, I wanted to make a story where Hodaka will save Hina. Is this the original draft? That's then she's now picking the original draft. Were you sure that was a great story back then? Yes, I was. I was confident that that's the story everyone would want to watch, or everyone would watch. See, Jova, he was confident that this was the story that everybody would want to watch, basically. Well, I was sure about that up to that point. If I pick one thing I completely lacked, I think I didn't have better skills to communicate. So he think the skill to communicate, yes. For example, I think the movie could have been 7 minutes shorter, something that I disagree with, but whatever. 5 minutes shorter is also fine, or 6 or 7 minutes, and he's going to explain why. I think I could have made the movie shorter. What would you been like if the story had been shorter? If it had been shorter, the story could have been more refined and easier to watch. Okay, look, Shinkai, I'm going to stop here. Shinkai-san, I appreciate your self-reflection. I do. Now, next time you make a movie, try this method. You know the whole self-reflection thing that you do every time you finish a movie? Try doing that while you're making the movie. Here's an idea. Just saying.
As I mentioned also first drafts and everything, I was gonna mention potential studio interference, but he himself, as usual, tends to have most of the control of the product. So I wonder if it was also a case where this is also might be an actual refined version, or other original drafts were even worse.
It is an interesting thing, guys. In the universe of the movie, it took place. This film apparently takes place during this past June.
Yep.
Oh, in the year
June
2021.
2021.
Okay, and here's something fun, too. You know the whole God is not pleased with you joke that we did? Okay, check this out. So, you're probably wondering, what happened in Japan in the day that this movie premiered in Japan? You're probably wondering. There was a big heavy storm. I'm not kidding. The summer in 2019, when the movie was released, a very powerful typhoon directly hit Tokyo. And they're even showing the lightning and everything. It really was like Weathering With You. It became big news. So there you go. God is not pleased with your movie, Shinkai. I will stop you from trying to release this. Seriously. This is hilarious.
You know, I can never really bring myself to hate Shinkai, though. It's weird. He seems like a guy of two personalities. He's got the big showman personality when he's obviously talking up his film, and that's fine. But then he has the more humble side of him where he kind of is arguably the loudest critic of some of his movies when they first released, mind you. After a few years, then other people start to join in.
Okay, so now, next point that I want to bring up. This is something that I wanted to bring up because I think Tay would have an interest in commenting on this.
Okay.
Okay, guys. You know how back when we did our previous commentaries, my fear has always been that Shinkai has way too much creative control, and there's nobody there telling him, Shinkai, you might want to calm down a bit. Mm-hmm. Well, thanks to these special features, now my theory has now been debunked because turns out he claims that he does indeed have a team that he works with the story and storyboard with.
Well,
so apparently this wasn't just him. Everybody in the studio was apparently fine with this, and nobody questioned anything. So,
okay, to be fair, I wouldn't say having a team is the same as not having complete control, because in that sense, sure, he has a team, but if he's still the one in charge without any checks or balances, then, well, what he says is the final say, essentially, unless he has someone over his head.
I still wanted to bring it up because it's a confirmation that my earlier points in the earlier commentaries are debunked. So
Oh yes. It does address the fact that he does have a team, actually, and it's not just him who's at the forefront. However, it doesn't quite tell us how much creative control he has.
That being said, the David Cage had two co-writers in the Triplicum Human, and yet that didn't help the game anyway. So I guess, I guess you got a good point there. That being said, here's one of the earlier drafts that was debated at some point, but his team actually told him no, and that this was not a good idea, and he eventually agreed with it.
Which is why interesting.
Originally, I wrote a sci-fi version script of Weathering With You. So yeah, this was apparently originally going to be a sci-fi movie.
That could
And I'm
be
guessing,
interesting,
I'm guessing too, you probably would have preferred if he had gone with this original idea.
Well, again, as long as you provide something that is not, attached to the laws of our world, that piques my interest by default.
Plot twist. The team did that to try and sabotage him.
Well, okay, let's hear what it was, this drift first.
So here's what he says. But the producers and our staff didn't like it. They didn't like it so much. They thought it wasn't a good idea. So there you go, Joe. But that's what I was saying. Apparently, he is willing to listen to others, to some extent at least.
But I would have liked to have heard. I would have liked to have heard their reasons as to why they thought it was.
I would have liked to heard what this early draft was, was encompassing plot wise.
Like, I mean, all we know is that
it's just sci-fi instead of mystical. But for a theme that is important as this, weather manipulation, it can be a lot of things.
Well, sorry, but I'm afraid I don't have an answer for you there.
Alas,
I sussed it.
Oh no!
Keep in mind. I wrote right there on the chat. I keep in mind. I'm reading the official subtitles. This is not a fan translation crap. I assure you. Anyway, I sussed it out and I wrote the other version, which is a version we got in theaters, basically. Yes, there was. In that, were they above the sky more? No, not in that way. Oh, there you go, Joe. I forgot about this. Yeah, he didn't actually give an answer.
There is a reason that is covered in the meantime, but that's for later.
How can I say it? I mean, the Sunshine Girl. We make her more scientific. The power of the Sunshine Girl. If we think of her power with real scientific logic, maybe some people start to take advantage of her power. Well, that would actually be a more interesting story, honestly, such as some corporations.
Yeah, the thing is that kind of plot point, as I mentioned, I think in some other, I forgot which movie I swear I did mention it recently, would be a tad overused. I also get the idea why the executive wanted to scratch that.
I was actually the one who mentioned during the commentary that, it's only a matter of time until, governments or whatnot. So I guess it was kind of a nice change of pace that we didn't go down that way. Granted, that doesn't
because and even says here, or some organizations which want to study her. The story could be like that. So there you go, Jova. That was his original idea, but his team was very adamant that he would change this into a fantasy film instead.
Granted, that way would have been more cliched. That said, we don't know for certain if that would have been better or not, narratively speaking.
Yeah, he says, I did write the script for that, but people didn't like that much. Didn't like it that much. I thought it wouldn't be right either. So basically, eventually, he ended up agreeing with them. So this time I didn't want to go along with sci-fi. I thought a movie with a hint of folk tales or old tales would be easier for the audience to watch, basically. That's what he says. Yeah.
Apparently, from what I'm seeing, part of the praise for this movie was because of it apparently interweaving Shinto beliefs with contemporary Japanese life. I
actually did search the meantime a couple of reviews of the movie. Again, I will reserve the details for later, but one that I found talks about how the movie is essentially more about religion than we thought, but unfortunately it doesn't explain. It's something that it will appear more intuitive for a Japanese viewer rather than a Westerner, and the movie itself doesn't provide that much aside from those couple of clips that are present.
Okay, well, another thing that I wanted to bring up is an interesting way that he interprets a little specific detail of the scene where Hina is grabbed by Hodaka in the middle of the sky. Did you guys notice how one of the bits of the handcuff? Did you notice that when Hina's trying to grab Hodaka, she grabs one of his hands and she grabs the loose hand, the open handcuff that he still has from the cops, right?
Yeah.
Apparently, that wasn't just there for the sake of detail. No, it was actually an intentional symbolism, as he's about to explain here. This was not an animator's idea, he says. But because Hodaka had been handcuffed, Some said maybe it'd be okay for him to handcuff Hina in that scene.
What?
What?
Hang on, let him carry on.
Let me finish.
Yep.
So did Yojiro, aka the composer, because he has been handcuffed. We wanted to use that. Basically, he's saying that we had handcuffs on him, so might as well use them for something. I guess that's the basic point that he's making. I guess it would be a good idea to handcuff Hina. Remember, I'm reading the subtitles here, but at the same time, I thought it's too much. Do you mean it becomes too intentional? She says. It looks like restraint. I didn't want any other meaning to the person you care about. Hold on. Let me read all the way. Some people like to be handcuffed, but others don't.
No, duh.
He's not
Stop talking.
Yes, Shinkai. The floor is made out of floor. People die when they are killed, and water is wet.
And there's
The
a new
sky is
release of
blue.
Skyrim. Yeah.
Well, actually, depending on the time of day. The sky
Shut
is
up,
blue.
Deji.
In the meantime, the woman responds with, "Right, some people like that way, I guess." And he answers, "Because it's a special moment there, I think it's acceptable not to let her go. But some are disgusted by being handcuffed by the boy you love."
Why do I get the feeling we're getting a look into Shinkai's fetishes here?
Okay, I think okay, if I had to really guess more than anything, I get the idea. What he wanted to say was the idea would have been that Odaka handcuffing Hina to him would have been to make sure she would not, let go anymore after that. But while people would have, some people would have been accepted the scene or understood what the meaning was, others would have felt that it would have been, going too much, even for the characterization that Hodaka has.
Here's how I take it. If he had kept that scene in, you know what a lot of people would have come to the conclusion of? Hodaka is literally keeping Hina on Earth against her own will. Okay, I'm not saying everybody would come to the conclusion, but try and tell me that kind of scene would not possibly send out mixed messages of that regard.
Well, yeah, that's probably the reason why they did not implement it in the end.
No, that's the thing. Technically, no, Jova. Technically, the scene was not cut out. She still grabs the handcuff itself.
No, I'm talking about him actually handcuffing her like they had originally planned to do, Pedro.
Oh, I don't think he's... Well, whatever. The point is, I thought about those feelings, he says. So he won't handcuff her. So there you go. Basically, so there you go. Like Jova said, apparently that was the original idea, because he wanted the handcuffs to be symbolic of him not wanting to let her go.
The bond.
But fortunately, he still has some self-awareness in that brain of his. So he realized, wait, people are probably going to take this the wrong way. So I probably should not go that far. So there's that, at least. You should that restraint thing that you just did there, Shinkai, try doing more of it, a bit more.
Is it sad that still is much more restraint than we see with a lot of self-proclaimed geniuses in the film industry?
Fair, he doesn't proclaim himself as a genius, so...
Well, that's what I mean. It's like, well, he still is more humble than a lot of people who let it get to their heads.
Mm-hmm. But handcuffs are a symbol as Odaka rebels against society. See, there you go. The handcuffs are a symbol of Odaka rebelling against society, which is, of course, the primary core theme of the movie, basically, like we've said. Okay.
Especially, just to add to Joba's point, especially to ones where the thing getting to said head happens extremely fast.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and now we come to the point that Taylor was looking for. Well, Taylor, we had to get to this at some point.
I've been curious about this too, so please.
Get ready, folks, because Shinkai is about to get somehow political.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Oh God, no. Let's leave.
Comics Wave Films. For those who don't know, Comics Wave Films is Shinkai's animation studio. Comics Wave Films was ruined when they got political. Anyway, so this is the bit where he tries to justify Odaka's decision at the end of the movie. Let's see what Shinkai says. We live our lives and make mistakes. Mistakes we made when we were in our teens make us embarrassed, but those mistakes often originated in pureness. So there we go. His idea is that, teenagers do a lot of stupid things all the time, but those mistakes often are derived from pureness, And I can understand his point. the problem is that the movie doesn't really convey things properly for the reasons we've already explained.
Not only
Anyway.
that,
Go ahead, Shira.
Sorry.
it's not about the whole conveying of it. It's, yes, that is actually a good stance to take. And I understand the purity part because, they genuinely have, love for each other. But at the same time, mistake is like, something that's like, it's fine. You can forget about it in a couple of days. Not drowning millions of people. That's a little more than a mistake, That's
Keep in mind.
I'm gonna quote something that my friend said when I saw this movie. Imagine letting an entire town get destroyed because you wanted some coochie.
Okay. Like I said, keep in mind, Hodaka knew this was going to happen. Hina, when she came back to Earth, let this happen for all those years.
Again, there is also another thing, but let's just hear what Sheik has to say on the matter.
The interesting thing you brought up now and earlier, Jova, is that technically Hina had no input on the matter. He did it without even asking her if she was okay with this. She said, "But if I do it, Tokyo will be flooded. I don't care." And Hina apparently just, okay.
Yeah, she just went with it.
Wait, did she actually say what the consequences would be?
Yes. Well,
yes,
okay, well...
All right, okay.
Well, okay. She tried to, but he interrupted her. But, she was pretty much, getting the same message across.
And even after that, she didn't retract it even.
And like I said, all those years, she remained, even though she probably could have just went back up, seeing as how he was on probation for years.
Which is also kind of a problem as well, because much like what Squall does at some point in Final Fantasy VIII, he basically ignores her, because remember, it was her, she already had resigned to her fate. So the fact that he didn't even at least ask her, look, I came here to the land of the sky to save you. Do you want to come with me? Like he didn't even give her a choice.
Like
he just he didn't talk these things through. That's basically what I'm talking about.
Like, at least with Squall, he was legit trying to save someone. Like, sure, yeah, resigned to fate, but his was about let's not give up just yet. And it wasn't like he was trying to, doom an entire civilization for it. This kid did that, and then some. But back to the Shinkai stuff.
But those mistakes originated in pureness, we already with us. So they are beautiful memories. But don't you see, Shiroi? And I'm doing Shinkai right now. But don't you see, Miss Shiroi? If it was Alice as a Sunshine Girl, wouldn't you do the same?
Well, it's the same question that Shadow of the Colossus posed, Shiroi. How far would you go for someone you care enough about?
I don't know.
No pressure, I swear.
Although, it's funny, Pedro, that you mentioned this, because I had to tell Alice about this stupid movie. I also told her what other movie he wrote, and she was very, very, the math meme? That was what was in her head.
what was the other movie you mentioned to her?
5 centimeters per second.
5 centimeters. Okay.
Yeah.
For a moment, I thought it was going to be Garden of Words.
I thought it was going to be your name.
I did mention Garden of Words, but I told her about this movie and the complete tone shift for the ending, and she jokingly said, "Hey, I'd choose you. It's fine."
Well, there you go. See, Shira, so Alice can relate to Odaka's choice then. There you go. See,
I still kind of want to show her the movie just for how ridiculous it is. But anyway.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so they are beautiful memories.
No, carry on.
I think it's on Netflix. But anyway, Teenagers' mistakes. Okay, here we go. Teenagers' mistakes are pure and beautiful. It even says right there in the section. We can forgive Hodaka because we know he is still at that stage of growth.
Yes, kid, I forgive you for losing my pension plan, my house, my family, my home, my career.
Committing mass genocide.
Sure, yeah. I mean, look, I had to have a funeral for so many of my family members at sea, but you know what? It's all fine for you to get laid, son. Go for the home stretch.
This is the problem with Shinkai. Like he's so enthralled with drama and beauty and emotion that whatever possible implications, whatever possible illogical, flat out problematic aspects a movie might have, he doesn't even notice. It seems. Okay, and then he says, "And we even want to support him." Do you want to support him, Jova? Anyway.
I'd rather support a poisonous python over that boy.
Because we all know that he needs to become mature. See, he's just immature. That's all.
Well, that is technically true.
I get that he needs to
is.
become more mature, but I don't think sacrificing a good bout of Earth's population to teach him a lesson is an efficient means.
That's something only you can and the woman said, and the woman replies this with, "That's something only you can express." Okay, I'm sure the woman means, "Wow, that kind of beautiful thing."
Yeah.
That kind of beautiful thing is something that only you would do in your movies. Yeah, but the way that, with putting this out of context, it really comes across as I would love to think of a headcanon of the woman thinking, "Yeah, that's something only you, not like you, would put in a movie." But,
unfortunately, that bit of the interview pretty much makes it clear that we apparently are supposed to be rooting for Hodaka, or at least able to forgive and see the good in him.
In a way, yes, Drover.
I love what she also says right next. "I wonder how you can maintain such a spirit. Yeah, please teach us, Shinkai. How can we be as tonally deaf as you are? Please teach us the way, Shinkai."
What was his response?
And here you go. And right after this, that's where the political stuff comes in. So allow me. Okay. Then after saying this, the woman immediately, for no reason, brings up, of all people, Donald Trump.
Oh no!
We are
go.
actually getting political.
Yes, the woman says, and I quote, "A person who criticizes Trump like me, can't make a choice like Hodaka."
What? Is that just because like she doesn't live in the country where like he was president, or like what is this?
That's the thing. She said, since I'm a person who criticizes Trump, I can't make that same choice that Hodaka made. And then she says, "I wonder when I lost such spirit." So basically, what she's basically saying is that she wishes she had the fortitude to make a to make a choice as grand and important as Hodaka's choice.
And
What?
this
I don't understand.
It seems more like she's comparing Hodaka to Trump in the sense that, she criticizes Trump's actions, so because of that, essentially Trump and Hodaka are similar enough that if she doesn't agree with Trump, she obviously couldn't agree with Hodaka, is the point I was trying to make.
I have no idea. Oh, here. For the sake of making things extra clear, let me just read this bit just one more time. So we can, again, let's hear it one more time. "I wonder how you can maintain such a spirit. A person who criticizes Trump, like me, hold on, it can't make a choice like Hodaka." That's basically what she says. And again, but wait till you see what Shinkai has to say about that. She says, "I wonder when I lost such spirit, or if I ever had it in the first place," she basically says. And he says, "I'm not sure. But Hodaka made a choice similar to Trump," says Shinkai. "In some way," he says. "So, has Donald Trump ever tried to drown the U.S.?" I must have missed that piece of news.
Okay, believe it or not, no, he has surprisingly not. So,
The only reason I'm asking this is because, well, Shinkai brought this up.
Based on that, I kind of, and I did originally, but now that you've finished like the whole back and forth, like I have the same interpretation as Jova, but even then, it's still baffling.
I mean, okay, was there some precedent for why Donald Trump came into play? Granted, I guess, in the sense, individual who cares more for personal gain than the masses. I mean, sure, obvious one, but...
That's what I get from it as well.
I wonder, maybe this ties into what Tio mentioned earlier about how it suggests that the city is in a very bad way due to the rain, and maybe that was part of the political.
Okay, I double check on that, and no. The whole thing about the guns is something that it was just a passing thing, and Odaka still using a handgun was as no as Shiroi and the others did note it, because Japan has strict rules that even if you just possess a handgun, you gain like 10 years of imprisonment. That's it. Jova or Deji, I forgot who, did mention also that not even Yakuza enforcers cannot have firearms of that caliber, and it just relies on fisticuffs or katana because that's more efficient to them anyway.
I think it's. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No. Go ahead.
I was gonna say I think that's something left over from the war as well, like civilians carrying firearms and such. Like
the point is that no, the city, yes, it is in a state of disrepair. Hodaka's actions are still in check. What the current laws of anti-gun laws that Japan has are right now.
He actually mentions one more thing. I can't really agree with some nationalistic or populist leaders from many countries. Well, I'm waiting for the next subtitle, and I often don't understand what they do. But in a film as entertainment, I can agree with them. What?
I get you. Okay, I think I understand a bit. Not the particular comparison that she did. That both because she started a conversation, and then Shinkai enforced on that. The idea is that it's comparing Hodaka's decision to taking a statement that goes even against common sense, and the idea behind this is that if you do something like that in the real world, your action it will be reprehensible because you're actually harming people with that. But because of this being a fictional product, an idea like that should be tested and try to see if can get some kind of resonance with the viewer.
Yeah. Even though their behavior is similar, like for me, what boggles me the most is that he himself even says, "Yeah, and Odaka made a choice that's similar to Trump." So he himself is, hey Shinkai, you are aware that comparing your protagonist with Donald Trump is not exactly something that's going to get people on your side, right?
And like Shiroi mentioned, Donald Trump has actually not gone as far as to drown a good portion of the United States.
Well, I didn't say that because I'm not American. But it's about one of the only things he hasn't done. But yes, go ahead.
It feels very specific, to say the least. I get the idea. The only reason that is brought up is just because of the effect that it had on the media itself, where this was like 2019. People just could not still stop talking about him no matter what, which was creating the exact opposite effect of what they were trying to do, particularly the comedians.
Yeah, it's interesting. Right after this, he says, and I quote, "I should not mention too much about Trump, though."
Well, James, okay. That's the thing. No, that's the thing. I understand actually this because similar also to some points from before, Shinkai actually does show some self-awareness at the very least. Sure, it's still not enough to justify, excuse, or delete the problems that they created, but at the very least, the guy seemed to understand that not 100% of what he says is a gospel that has to be followed.
Honestly, though, Tio, what you said does make me think that I feel like Shinkai is one of those guys who lives in the moment and then right at the last second realizes, oh crap, I may have messed up, usually when it's too late, essentially. Apparently even in the
whole thing that we mentioned... Sorry.
Go on.
The thing that we mentioned, Pedro mentioned also before about the Hayao Miyazaki successor debacle. I can understand the fact that he will try to not want it to be compared to that in some kind of fashion. The only major problem we did found, as Pedro noticed, was the fact that he believed only Miyazaki was capable of producing those great products when he grew up. But I still get the idea that he himself did not want it to be referred as such, and only like touch the subject minimally during an interview like that. But whatever. Continue, Pedro.
Everything that she said, that the woman replies with is, and I quote, "I thought grown-ups or the society told too many lies. Hold on. People knew what they wanted or what they wanted to say, comma. Hold on, I'm waiting. But they thought they were not supposed to say that aloud." So yeah, this woman is political as fuck.
Okay,
clearly.
so this interview
more like
went
that.
to
What does this have to do with?
places.
Okay. Knowing again that comparison that I will brought up later, this still begs the question: what does that have to do with the movie?
No,
Yeah, this has kind of gone off the rails a little bit.
Like it's a little political tangent.
That's why I wanted to bring it up. The woman literally brings Trump out of nowhere, and Shinkai even goes along with it.
Okay, for the American in the audience, this is exactly the problem that me as a non-American always found during all the previous 4 years of Trump's presidency. Right because people needed to raise awareness of the problems he was causing, nobody shut the fuck up about him, which created the exact opposite problem of enabling his supporters as a result.
Yeah, because they were just... No. Let me tell you, as an American, every time when Trump was being mentioned, it did feel like, what point are you trying to make right now?
That's also the other thing that even the comedians, like he said, Jimmy Kimmel completely destroyed itself in my eyes because of this. Because every time he showed up, he just couldn't shut up about it.
Hold on, I'll let you finish.
No, this is a point. Even again, most major comedians of recent times did also basically not destroy themselves, but lost a lot of fun factor for me because of that, because they just couldn't shut up about it. And I was like, please talk about something else.
Sorry.
And this is basically another example of that.
Okay.
I'll actually save this for my final thoughts.
I mean, it'd be like if I were talking to Jova about, say, a film or something. It'd be like this. Hey, Jova, did you see that new Marvel film yesterday?
Yeah.
And did you? By the way, did you notice how the guy had a similar hairstyle to Trump? That's such great commentary.
or how every media parody tried to make a character based off Trump. Was like,
okay,
yeah, like Doctor Who.
In the UK, we actually had maybe Dwebs can say who it is, but ITV, one of our networks, had like somebody masquerade as Trump and was basically like a mockery of the guy, on TV all the time.
And to answer your question, Shuri, which one?
Why, are there more than one?
It feels like...
I always thought it was all the same guy that they keep bringing on every show of theirs.
Okay. If I may, to play a tiny bit of devil's advocate here, what Trump was doing was some incredibly messed up stuff here. And, sometimes it is... well, in a comedian's nature to draw attention to it and mock the hell of it while also spreading awareness of how wrong it is. That's fine. No, the problem was that Trump was so easy a target because practically every day with the man was a cartoon episode here and there. He was essentially the fountain that overflowed with water to the point where everyone pretty much got addicted to it, and to the point where some people were legitimately afraid he was going to win the next election just because comedians needed more of that water, essentially. So, I get where it started with, but I do definitely hold that it went way, way too far. Though I will admit, Joe Biden being old Captain America was a nice touch in Endgame.
All right, continue, Pedro.
Okay, and she said, and after, guess what? She's gonna bring it back to the movie, believe it or not, by saying, and I quote: "So did you mean it? Did you mean that in his words, as in Odaka's words?" And his reply is, "I'm not sure if his words contain everything we just talked about."
Well, yeah. Again, that bit of self-awareness where they mentioned, that's one of the reasons why I cannot, honest to God, bring myself to dislike Shinkai all this way through.
Like I said,
not to the same level as you, Pedro, if that makes any sense.
Like I said, I legit think the guy is good. It's just that he gets a little in over his head, and like he realizes his errors, but again, right at the last minute when it's just too late, essentially.
I'll put it this way too. It's not that I dislike him. Like I said, I think he's probably a pretty nice guy. The only reason I'm so highly critical of his movies is because I know he can do much better than this. We've seen him do much better than this, you know? So, and that's why it's frustrating, you know, because the guy clearly has so much talent, and yet he keeps, all of his efforts are always so misguided, you know? But anyway.
Go on.
And he says, but I was like, don't you all, and this is back to Odaka, not Trump. We're done with the Trump thing. But I was like, don't you all agree with him when I wrote his words? So there you go. So that was exactly it. According to Shinkai himself, you were supposed to you were supposed to think, you know what? I kind of agree with Odaka.
Look, look. If getting laid takes pretty much an entire civilization extinct, I would rather be a virgin. If essentially this one person I loved was knowingly sacrificing themselves for the betterment of the people, and if it was their choice, it would be incredibly tough for me to accept. But I would at least take more time to decide on this stuff, and yeah, I get it. Maybe as far as Hodaka knows, everything, like, she could be gone forever and whatnot. But the boy doesn't even seem to hesitate or think about what this may or may not do, essentially. Like, I hate to say it, okay, it's not as despicable as One More Day, but it's on a similar wavelength. Like, again, person can't let X person go, even though X person is willing to go, essentially. Person pretty much ends up screwing up there for it, because they can't deal.
Okay, one final question, and then we're done, and we move to final thoughts, everybody. This is what the woman asks him: is having a lot of expectations easier for you? So basically saying, you have a lot of expectations ever since your name. Is having a lot of expectations easier for you? She says, and you think it would be harder for him, but let's see what he says. He answers, well, it can be easier for me to work. Wedding with you is kind of a wrong story. I'm not kidding, that's his actual wording. Wedding with you is kind of a wrong story.
Excuse me?
Thanks to your name, I was allowed to release the wrong story in more than 300 theaters during summer. Wow. If I had released Wedding with You before your name as my first challenge, and many people would have opposed me. It's become easier for me to make offbeat stories than when I was infamous.
Huh.
And it's important to make films which would surprise the audience. So there you go, Jova. Yeah. Shinkai wanted to subvert your expectations.
Goodbye.
Like,
he surprised us.
This movie took 2 years in development, Jova. So yeah, it was basically conceptualized also in 2017. Shouldn't be too surprised.
I'm not too surprised. That said, though, what he's essentially saying is, I had a big success, so that pretty much gives me the resources available to do a whatever kind of movie.
It's more like Jova, the fact that he thinks that he doesn't want to become stale thanks to the success of your name, and in order to try something different, he wanted to push the envelope that much.
I think it's also more that, like, because Pedro said, I think it was Pedro that said, you think the success would make it, a bit harder for him to work. But I get why it might be easier because, he doesn't have to impress a bunch of people who are doubting him. He has found that success, even if the movie honestly wasn't that good. But, he doesn't have to worry about impressing execs and, whatever else anymore. Yep. He can he's free to, regardless of how good or bad the movie is, he's free to put his ideas down without actually worrying about that. So I understand that.
Yeah.
It is a bit worrying, but I can get it. Unfortunately, that does sound a bit like modern-day Disney's mentality, where they're pretty much on top, so they don't have to worry as much. That can be a good thing, but it can also be a bad thing. It's a good thing in that it does give people a lot more freedom to try new and interesting things. On the other hand, it can also give people literally the excuse to do, whatever, it'll still sell, and bam, essentially.
One final thing before we move... Sorry.
It's to a point where they can try, but they don't have to try, which is a bit of an issue. Go on, Pedro.
One final thing before we move on to Dwelve's final thoughts. He also mentions, in the previous section, I forgot to mention this one thing, but I'll mention it real quickly. He also says that if you say these kinds of things on the nowadays, you get criticized en masse on social media and stuff like that. As in the whole, I would rather keep my girl than my girl and see the world die than blah blah blah. If you so basically, he mentions that he will get. That being said, he really wanted to have a movie where where someone is able to just say what he wants, just say what is truly in his heart. And he thinks that that's something. Again, remember, that's like I said. Shinkai is more interested in what is beautiful and more emotional and more enthralling and romantic. That's what this is all he cares about. How beautiful and romantic and pure something is.
It's funny. I get it. The freedom to say what you want to say. I guess it's just that I've heard that excuse used so much time by scumbags that it's kind of a bit iffy about
that in itself should not allow you to should not discourage people who genuinely want to do that to be impeded to do that.
Oh, trust me, I get it. It's just that lamenting the whole not being able to say this or that here and there, mind you, you know what? Inherently, it should not be a bad thing. Heck, freedom of speech, it will always take precedent. It's better to have a world where we do have the First Amendment than a world where everything could be just restricted like that or whatnot, because then it just becomes draconian. It's just very frustrating because there are so many times when it has been exploited here and there, like to the point where it's a miracle and somebody actually does get called out for that here and there. Where am I going with this? Oh, go on.
Well, that's what the court of public opinion is. Like, if you say something horrible, you'll get lambasted. So,
Well, freedom of speech is not freedom from consequence.
Thank you.
And people definitely confuse that.
Pretty
much.
I'm
saying.
What? Like, is it like what happened with Piers Morgan earlier this year, Siri?
And what's happening with Alex Jones?
Okay, to clear up some confusion with you, Pedro, when people mention the court of public opinion, people usually mention it in a very derogatory way.
They do?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, what I meant with it is that the people who listen decide whether or not listening are the ones who decide whether or not this guy said something horrible or not.
All right. Yeah. No. Sorry, I just wanted to clear that up with you because but like Jova, like me and Jova mentioned, people do view the court of public opinion as something bad overall, instead of just bad in certain circumstances.
And I don't want to say that's where Shinkai is going with this, but like so many other things in this interview...
No, honestly, Jova, you might as well actually go in with this. If anything, it might be a common sentiment in Japan that they believe the current climate, particularly influenced by Western people on the internet, as being restricting more their freedom of speech.
I mean, and again, I can get where he may be coming from that, but how he says it can come off, in either way here. And I do wonder if this is about a Shinkai kind of missing the forest for the trees here on that case.
Yeah, that's always been my theory. The guy needs to take a good look inside and try to apply restraint. And please think things through while you're making the movie.
And to tie this back into the movie, talk about saying something is one thing, but Hodaka did more than just say it. He did it! He sacrificed Tokyo just to get laid, essentially. And even not just to get laid, it's because he was in so much love with a girl that he knew for... Well, okay. To be fair, they did get to know each other over the year and whatnot, but Still, though. Still.
Was it?
I actually know the exact timestamp because it's mentioned 3 months.
Yeah, it's enough time to get to know somebody.
That's enough time to decide to drown a city, I'm sure.
Okay, I think I can explain now the beat here.
Go ahead, Teo, explain it.
Among the video that I found, I didn't find any particular one that I agree 100% with, to be honest, because there seems still to be some kind of degree of bias. But the one that at least I attune with more is for someone called, I think it's... well, okay, I will find the name later in the meantime. But it is someone who actually did some research on his own, and not discovered, but basically understood that the themes of the movie are more religious in nature. Because let's also pose the question, one question that I think some of us noticed, but didn't actually called. Yes, Odaka has the whole thing about wanting to catch back to Hina, and reaching her. But you have to remember that he manages to do that because he manages to actually step through the Heaven Gate on top of the building. This apparently is intentional because the figure that he sees while in the clouds, that serpent made of clouds that then eats him and then poops him out, that's God.
What?
Apparently.
So God was okay with this, I guess?
Not just that, Jova. There you go. The person verified is called Bonsai Pop. Hodaka's decision is actually endorsed because of the general theme of the movie. Despite Shinkai claiming about the movie not wanting to be talking about climate change, the themes of the movie basically tells that directly, especially if you, like I said, more if you know the Japanese background or anything, that Hina's decision was the selfish one. And Odaka's actually freeing her allowed the order of natural things to happen. As in, humanity tampered with nature too much and deserved it to be punished as a result. That's where the actual heavy rain comes from. That's also the fact that Hina's figure, the maiden, about the weather maiden, while not having a particular, equivalent in Japanese folklore, resembles an actual deity, not one of the bigger one or the lesser one, actually, associated with the Dragon of Water, which is the god that I mentioned before, that has basically this exact purpose, but then rebelled against the gods and got punished for it, which is a process that kinda is similar to what happens to Hina. So while on its own, Hodaka's decision was still selfish and fulfilled by himself without him being told by anyone else to do it. It was still his decision. At the end of the day, the theme of the movie is basically the same as Your Name, but with an opposite outcome. Applying a selfish action in order to gain back the person that you love, but in one case is to defy the other natural order of things, as in the comet striking the village, and in this one, restoring it to the natural order of things, as in the idea that Tokyo was supposed to be flooded anyway.
And again,
so there is that.
You know what's funny, too? Like I mentioned, the villagers escaped that comet striking
only
the
to find themselves in this.
In a
but the point where I'm going with this is that this is probably something that the Japanese audience understood better because it's deeply rooted in their folklore, but for a Western audience was not explained, better in the movie. But on this way, I can kind of start to understand at least a bit more the movie. I'm still not willing to justify Odaka's action, but again, I want to say that for my final thoughts. But keep in mind, it's not as mindless or like out of nowhere as it may appear to be.
I do think the iffy thing, though, is like, it seems to suggest that what you inferred to is something that was unintentional based off of what Shinkai has been insisting, so I don't know how much credit
considering what we just went through in this interview, Jova, yes, that checks out too.
Honestly, sorry, go on.
Which I guess in that case, as interesting an idea as that may be, I can't really give the film credit for that because I didn't really get that inkling, and it sounds like something that you have to this inner knowledge about from that.
That's exactly what I said. The movie does not convey well for someone who don't have that background.
Which leads to my point there is that if he did something like this before Your Name, I would be a bit more understanding. But after the success of Your Name, Shinkai started making his movies already with a Western audience in mind, as showcased by the title having an English subtitle even in the original Japanese version already. So even before the translation process starts, there's already an English title for it.
If you could allow
Considering you originally wanted to make it more sci-fi, I wonder if this was the result of the executive meddling.
When he started writing this, yeah, he probably Shinkai, you're already writing this with a Western audience in mind as well, not just Japanese people. So you probably should offer some more context for the religion being depicted here. It's not like it would ruin the movie by doing that. Not really. You just have to add like an extra scene. We had that point where the old man describes the lore, right? Well, extend that scene and have the men also explain the religious aspect. There you go, problem solved. It's not like it would ruin the movie to throw this explanation into the movie.
It's very common in these kinds of movies, actually.
Remember, yokai folklore is a Japanese thing, but Yokai Watch does all the explanation you need in the show. So this is a very easy thing to do. Before I turn things to Dwibs, one final thing I would like to mention. You know how I kept saying that I thought this movie should have been longer, not shorter, like Shinkai says? Guess what? We do get to learn about Hina and Odaka's backstories and what exactly happened before the events of the movie.
Through a manga!
A Japanese exclusive novel?
A Japanese... Well, to be fair, it has been published outside of Japan as well, so you can read it in English.
Okay.
That being said, yes, you have... If you want more character development for the two main leads, and I do... You have to go out of your way to read this novel to understand exactly what's Odaka's deal with his parents and what exactly is Hina's deal with, So, Shinkai, why not make the movie long and put that's important stuff that we need. We need to get to know these characters better. Therefore, put this crap in the movie.
That was legit one of my biggest complaints was about how little we knew about the characters to, help us care about them. And like I mentioned, they didn't do enough with them in the movie before things started to get heavy for us to really care. Let alone us care enough to want to see the girl live over, the entirety of Tokyo.
With that, we've already gone way long enough in this behind-the-scenes stuff. I hope you appreciated this interesting inside look into Shinkai's mind. Dwibs, what are your thoughts on all this mess?
Well, I mean, I thought it was fine for the first 2/3 of the movie, aside from like a couple of iffy scenes. Like, I mean, Alison Brie's character is my favorite one of the whole movie.
Natsumi.
Because she's the most fun.
And Suda. I will argue Suda's also on.
And the uncle's the uncle's good too. He's kind of a bit like a little bit like the uncle from Persona 5 in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Again, it's a Shinkai movie. The environments are always going to look pretty good. And indeed, the film is in general looks pretty damn good.
What do you think of the soundtrack? Since I noticed you were what's with this music when the songs started popping up?
Yeah, some of the music just felt like I was watching an early 2000s AMV.
Well, if I can help with that... Oh, sorry.
Of an anime. Yes, Yuri?
Like the for the OST, because I did like some looking into it, it was handed off to a long-time famous Japanese rock band, so that would explain it.
There are also a lot of points where the music is used in reverse intentionally to create an eerie effect.
Yeah, I noticed.
That's the thing. That's the thing, Shiroi. It wasn't even just that. The lead artist of that band is also the composer and musical director of the movie. He himself.
No, I know. Like the script and such was sent off to him and stuff. I did read a little bit of this.
I can speak for you, Dwibs, but boy, do I miss Tenmon.
There's probably something only Pedro would get since I watched the film with him recently. I did while I was watching Nausicaa voice a few concerns about the soundtrack in that movie. because half the time I felt like Joe Hisaishi was a real big fan of Scarface. half the time with that score. But at the very least, as odd sounding as it could be at times, it was at the very least fitting with the scene going on. This, on the other hand, feels like someone just stuck a soundtrack for what you'd hear in a generic early YouTube AMV.
Yep.
Or like an early 2000s, like a song you typically hear in the early 2000s on like The Box or Smash Hits or something.
Okay. And how about that third act?
Yeah, that's where most of the negativity comes from, unfortunately. The third act. I mean, yeah, I'm putting aside the ending, the actual ending of it for now. The third act itself is just completely fraught with problems. Yeah, even without that, there's all the there's the weird shift from I must get in your way to fuck the police. Ah! Seriously, what the hell? Yeah, and then there was that ending. I mean, congratulations, mate. You can score with a chick. Such a pity no one else can in Tokyo.
It's okay, dwelve. God wanted it that way.
Well, he's a pretty shitty god then.
No shit, dwelve.
Is this an Atlas game?
Why, yes.
That would explain so much.
You have to remember. Well, yeah, you have to remember also the Regiment. Japan always added the conception, of old school mentality when it comes to divinity and pantheon, and they did reject actually Christianity when the colonists tried to import that to their islands. So yeah.
And to be fair, it's not just an Atlas thing. It's kind of like
It's
a
all over the
JRPG
place,
thing in general. Like.
Carry on, Dips.
And everyone, that's the thing that I think a lot of people took umbrage with, including myself. That apparently one person living is enough to justify like millions of people either dying or being displaced or being otherwise really adversely affected by what happened, and yet the movie is so completely tone deaf. It treats it almost like a good thing. I mean, it'd be like if the ending of Clockwork Orange portrayed the main character's Alex's recovery from the Ludovico procedure as a good thing, even though it clearly doesn't, because the movie's implying that he's recovered, but now that means he's just going to go out and kill more people.
That's the thing with the original book kinda had an ending that was cut from the American release, and Kubrick genuinely did not know.
Yeah, but basically, yeah. Well, to be fair,
go watch Dominic Noble's video on it.
Yeah, basically, watch that.
To be fair, I'm pretty confident the ending of Clockwork Orange is meant to be interpreted to the audiences, depending what they think is the right thing. I think it's more so the fact that, yes, technically the original offer intended for Alex to actually fully reform and become a good person at the end, a traditional happy ending. But Kubrick only read the American version of the book.
It wasn't even a thing of his decision, it was literally just a mistake that he made.
Like, the original American release of the book lacked that last chapter, and that's why he wasn't even aware of that final chapter. So what we have in the movie is basically incomplete stuff because, well, at the time Kubrick wasn't even aware that there was a missing chapter in the book. So
I wonder if he ever found out.
I don't remember. I think he did eventually, but I don't remember the details. I will need to rewatch the. Sorry.
Knowing Kubrick, I'm pretty confident he prefers the movie. He preferred the movie the way it was till his death, because Kubrick was all about the morally ambiguous endings. He loved those, so I'm pretty confident he prefers the movie exactly as it is.
But overall, this was a really, in fact, it's even worse than Your Name, because at the very least, Your Name's issues were some characters were a bit iffy, and that it's clearly trying, but it just doesn't come through in the end.
That in the movie doesn't make sense when you know the twist.
But at least it's better than guy kills major population.
That is true.
Yeah, I mean, it's like saying, it's like.
If I may,
Yeah.
they were stark
It's like-
opposites. One was about saving lives, the other was about dooming
Taking them.
lives.
Yeah, like taking lives. Yeah.
Hey, Jova. Hey, Jova.
Yes.
Hey, Jova. To kill someone to save the world, is that really the right thing to do?
Oh, God.
Huh?
Whether it's right or wrong,
Okay.
Shinkai cannot say.
Okay, Pedro. Ultimate question. Would you do it for Vanessa?
Of course.
That's a lot of pressure.
For
Water
me,
pressure.
Yeah. You know what? I would because the world is a shitty place and doesn't deserve that Vanessa sacrifice. There you go.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, will be a Pedro's fan remake of this film, Saving Vanessa.
Nah, but Pedro is actually Wilson Fisk.
Whatever you
done
do.
with-
Anyway.
Can I go
Yeah.
next?
Yeah,
Dej,
Dej, you can go next. Yeah, this one
Dej.
combos.
You know, this movie started off interesting as a nice slice of life anime. I'm gonna echo some things dwelve said because I feel like we're all in unison with this. I did wish it was about Suga and Natsume, since they were the more interesting characters, and honestly, if it was just them living their lives instead of all this weird mystical stuff, that would have been better. But
Yep.
once we got to the third act, they lost the plot and completely went off the rails.
We warned
Oh.
you.
Oh, so just like Garden of Words. Oh, so just like Children Who Chase Lost Voices. Oh, so... Well, okay,
Just
to
like
be
your
fair,
name.
your name
We
is...
warned you.
This is starting to become a pattern, Jova. Go on, Dej.
As like this resulted in one of the most baffling endings I have seen all year. Like, at least with all the bad movies I've seen, they started off bad, so them going insane just felt like the natural conclusion.
Oh, yeah.
But this started off so normal, and then it's like, so anyway, I'm gonna point out a gun at my mentor / boss. I'm gonna point a gun at the police, and then my senpai, who is technically younger than me, is gonna attack one of the police officers, and then I'm gonna go like, what happened?
You know...
And then flooding Japan. No, not Japan. Tokyo. And the movie presents this as a good thing?
Also, before that, going to the sky, being spat out by God, and taking the girl of your dreams back to Earth.
It's
This isn't even a matter of interpretation. As I've just read, Shinkai wants you to agree with Hodako's choice. Shinkai himself confirms this.
like, if it was a morally gray story, and it's like, yeah, you're kind of a jerk. Or the whole point is like, no, this guy is clearly in the wrong. You are not supposed to root for him. I'd be like, but now this is still a bit wonky, but sure. But like the last line of the movie is everything is gonna be okay, or we're gonna be okay. It's like,
We're going to be just fine.
Because every little thing is gonna be alright. No.
Like, I mean...
Tio, that's for later this year.
I get what you mean, though, Dej. It's
Oh,
like,
no,
oh,
sure.
movies that start off good, very promising, but then just crap themselves, like at the halfway point, or hell, at the last act, are some of the most frustrating and disappointing pictures to go through, because, you know, it's like, you know, we had something good going here. Why'd you have to ruin it? I mean, the film was already kind of a mess, but damn, that last act. Anything else, Dej?
Man, I am so not looking forward to watching Your Name, because I know so many people praise it to the highest heavens.
Okay.
I can tell it's better than this one, but not much better.
Let me put it like this, Dej. Just like Weathering with You, it was amazingly praised when it first came out, but as time passed by, people started to catch on to the problems, and nowadays it's much more mixed.
Mm-hmm.
Let me just put it like this. If you're like me and Tio, you'll enjoy it until the big twist comes. then you'll just wonder how the hell the plot even worked. And
I did enjoy it afterward anyway.
I mean, I still kind of overall enjoyed it. It's just that, well, I can't in good faith call it a good movie because of how much it really does not make sense when you think about it. And especially how that last act was, well, in typical Shinkai tradition. Kind of insane, and not in the good way. Well, unless you're watching it to riff it.
Anything else, Edge?
Nope, I'm done. Bye, everybody.
Shiroi.
Sure, why not?
Let me. I'll lead you in with the question as well. So, Shiroi, to kill someone to save the world, is that really the right thing to do?
I mean, it was kind of the opposite in this movie. You killed a bunch of people to save a single person.
Means that we need to sacrifice Hina so that Tokyo cannot be flooded. So technically, yeah.
How far will you go? Again, just like in Shadow of the Colossus.
How far I'll go. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Moana.
A much better movie.
Yeah.
Again, like, I also enjoyed this movie, like, for the first 2/3 of it, even more than Your Name, actually, because that one was just confusing and just really long. And this movie is not exactly short, but at least it made more sense, even if it was, you know, it derailed. It probably derailed even worse than Your Name did, but I think this was still a better experience, honestly. And a lot of that is down to the characters, because I really like the protagonists are fine, but then we also have, like, as the others mentioned, Natsumi and Suda, who are great characters. And I would have also preferred a slice of life kind of thing, because honestly, like, I mentioned during the movie that I wasn't emotionally invested enough in the protagonists to feel, like, upset by the scene, you know, where she explains that she's disappearing. Like, I was more invested in Suda and his family dynamic, like his family issues.
Mm-hmm.
Despite them being in the sideline.
And Natsumi's just funny, as Dweb said. Like,
and you told me as the credits started, and I quote, "Hey, you know how I said that I kind of like the protagonists? Yeah, scratch that."
Yeah, so... that's the thing, because, like, everything was fine, you know, up until they drowned everyone.
Wait, were you okay with with Odaka pointing a gun at Suda?
No, not really. It was more like, I didn't mind it as much because, like, it's ridiculous, but he's also very distressed. It's not, like, a good thing to happen, but I can at least, you know, understand it. Whereas, you know, the whole bit at the end is, like, you have this big, very classic 2000s anime, you know, like, you have the music, it's all bright and happy, and then immediately cuts to, oh yeah, Tokyo flooded, a bunch of people died, cut to black. And I thought that's how the movie was ending, given how long the black screen was there for. It was, like, a good few seconds. Like, I'm glad it didn't end with just that, but it still wasn't good anyway. And honestly, even if you still included the two, like, Hina and what's the boy's name?
Hodaka,
yeah. Even if you still included them in, like, the slice of life version of the movie that I wish existed, like, I would have still, like, been fine with that, because honestly, the whole idea of them just using the power as, like, a get-rich-quick scheme kind of thing is something a little more interesting. Like, it's not exactly elaborate, but it is something a bit more interesting than, you know, the original idea of Hina getting experimented on by the government, basically, because that is a bit too cliche.
Yeah.
But this one would at least, you know, like, wacky antic slice of life kind of thing. I would have been perfectly fine with that. But we had to have this instead, and I'm not even going to talk about half the stuff that was mentioned in that interview, because oh boy.
Oh boy, indeed.
Because, like, I kind of get.
So I'm guessing I just completely made you rethink your position on Shinkai.
The thing is, Not really. I still can't hate the guy because despite everything he said, I genuinely don't think he knows. I don't think he listens to himself when he talks. Like, he seems like that kind of person to me.
Yeah.
Like I said,
Shiro,
he's constantly in the zone until he realizes at the last minute, oh crap, shouldn't have done that.
Maybe
Like,
that's
even the whole...
I am not even kidding you, Shiro. If I met Shinkai in person, the first question I would ask him is, let me ask you, because I need to know. Do you even listen to yourself when you talk?
Maybe
I
that's
don't
the
think he
secret.
does.
Maybe that's the secret. He's always actually stuck in the zone from Seoul.
Like, even despite like all the political stuff, even with all that, like, I can understand like the very basic thought process of what he was getting at. I still don't think what he said was comparable, but again, I really just like, even despite all that, I don't think he listens to himself when he talks. He just says words.
Shiro, but Shiro, what about the other point he made where, don't you see how pure it is that these teenager mistakes are so pure and beautiful?
Well, I actually did elaborate on that earlier on. Like, that is something I do get where he's coming from. But that applies to, like, general mistakes that kids make, not flooding and killing millions of people. I feel like I've said that line several times, but it needs repeating.
It really
does. Like, this wasn't a simple mistake. Like, you sunk a civilization.
Again, Hodaka, boy, do you think outside of your lower head?
See, the thing is, allow me
His head's in the clouds, literally.
See, here's the thing. The reason me, and I'm guessing Jova, are so against, and probably Deji as well, because Deji was also very concerned with it. Because the reason me, Jova, and Deji are so concerned with Hodaka pointing a gun at Suda is because, okay, I'm sorry, there's being... like Shiro said, there's being incredibly tense and stressed, and then but no.
Well, I didn't say that justified it.
Oh no! I get that. I'm not saying you try to justify. It's just that, like, I feel like the movie. That's the thing, Shiro. Like you said, he doesn't think. I genuinely believe he doesn't think when he writes either. Because I genuinely believe, based on what he says and based on how his movies are, that he genuinely thought that, oh, look, he's willing to kill Suda just to save Hina. Look how beautiful and romantic. No! Like, not everything needs to be an incredibly souped-up romance that's beautiful and pure, dude. Apply some fucking common sense once in a while.
If I may, at the very least, they could have shown Hodaka hesitating when he turned the gun at Suda.
Well, he didn't pull the trigger, he was actually hesitating.
Well, thank goodness for small favors, essentially, but okay.
I say just answer your question.
Okay,
Sure.
When I say hesitating, I mean, like, well, he should have... Okay, you know what? Maybe not even, like, literally show that he's hesitating, but at least get a look into his mind that basically tells us that, yeah, he himself acknowledges that this is nuts. What am I doing? He at least questions the sanity of what he's doing, but no, nothing does ever suggest that. Like,
considering the novelization of, if I recall correctly, the novelization of the movie actually is narrated in first person from Hodaka's perspective. I think there might be actually a moment like that, but that's just an assumption.
I don't think there was a moment like that during that scene, but I was just about to mention that they could have used the narration for that since it has been present. Like,
there
it's been
Jova.
sprinkled in the movie.
We found the thing, the missing thing, Jova. This movie has more things in common with Spirit in 3 than anything.
oh my god.
We need an
It's all
internal monologue,
connected.
please.
There we go. Well, character who really does not seem to think before they act. Yeah.
And yet I still have more empathy to Hodaka than to fucking Lucky.
Okay, this is tough for me, because Lucky has done some terrible things, but at least she didn't doom her entire town, and yes, I know, it's kind of...
And yet, no, she wouldn't... Okay, she would have... Instead of just doing it for someone else, she would have done it for herself, Jova.
I mean, look, I know we like to joke about how she's kind of like a psychopath, but... No, I'm sorry.
It's more like she's selfish. I'm just saying, applying the circumstances of this movie to a character, it will remove even the altruism.
Well, the thing is, even at her lowest, Lucky is never... Okay, The thing is that the show has been trying to write Lucky like she is a selfish hero. It just does a crap job of doing it to the point where, yes, she does come off as more selfish. By this context, I don't think even Lucky would do something this evil. Like, no, what Hodaka did wasn't just stupid, it was evil.
Carry on, Shiroi.
Yeah. Also, one little detail I want to point out. The guy likes trains. Like, maybe not as much as this guy, but he does like trains. I like how we have, like, a good 5 minutes, maybe a little bit more, of Hadako running down the train tracks, like, to get to the shrine. Not a single train was found in that part.
That's because the lines were actually disconnected due to the flooding.
Oh, really?
Yes. Remember, when he starts walking on them, you can see that part of the tracks are flooded, and there's
I didn't.
There's part of the announcer that actually does say that.
That's the reason that we called up. Oh, sorry.
I remember the road being flooded when they went on the bike down into. I remember that, but I don't remember the train line part.
Yeah. Tio is right, like, that's the reason we called out his stupidity, because for all he knew, the electricity could come back on from those railings, which would have fried him while he was wading around in the water like a moron.
Mm-hmm.
Shiroi, here's what I think was the thought process as you were talking about the whole preferring the slice of life thing. Okay, here's Shinkai's thought process, Shiroi. A nice, fun, wacky slice of life thing, or amazingly beautiful skyland scenery. Well, I gotta go with this one.
Oh dear.
It's more like if we went with both.
Oh, no, that's the thing too. Like, what I mean is that clearly the skyland is what he loves the most about this. So remember the whole falling from the sky scene was the first thing he wrote for this.
Yeah.
So the guy knew what his priorities were. Let's face it. So yeah, Shiroi, but how will that even include the sky, though? That's also another thing, I mean.
You could have the characters, like, lie down on the grass at some point and look up at it and think about shit. I don't know.
Hey, guys, remember...
Figure it out! You're the writer, not me.
How about having being a race of, people with wings, similar to Fantasy XII and wings that live up in the sky?
Why is
that? You can also include your supernatural element with that.
All this is reminding me of is just that the fact that the movie technically kind of started with Hodaka looking up at the sky and that nearly getting him killed. Because, like, if Suga hadn't grabbed him because he was looking up and then the ship tilted, he would have been into the water and he would have been dead and...
Yeah.
Oh my god. Is Suga technically the bad guy for saving him now?
No.
Okay.
Remember, Jova, God intended it that way.
I would like to see him go back to writing something that's slice of life again. Like, maybe not a movie, maybe like a mini-series.
That's the thing, I remember. He tried that Garden of Words. Look how that turned out.
Wait. That was a mini-series? I thought that was like just a miniature.
That was a movie, wasn't it?
Well, okay. I thought you meant like something smaller scale.
No. She meant like a
No, I mean
mini-series.
like maybe like just like an anime, not even like 25 episodes, like just a handful, like a small thing,
Well, Shira, you're not getting your wish granted for this year because the next movie is supposed to come out, and we've already checked the synopsis, and it seems to be having similar themes once again.
Yeah, and it's gonna be
great.
Apparently, the premise of the new movie is there's all these doors that lead to various dimensions, and apparently the world is gonna be doomed because of it. So yeah, once again, the same shtick.
Incorporated?
Like
I actually did make the comparison.
Encanto?
Yes.
Like it's like the guy just wants to keep upping the ante. It seems, Shiroi.
Sometimes you can just like have a nothing show, Shinkai.
Mm-hmm.
Make a nothing show.
But where's the fun in that, Shiroi?
There's plenty of fun in that. We've seen that he can write slice of life stuff. Heck, we saw it at the start of this movie.
True, yeah.
Like, just do that! Make a short anime of that! Like, 10 episodes, 15, give or take. Just something that's not this.
Tell me more about this restraint, quote-unquote, thing tell me more about that weird concept.
Honestly, I'm probably one of the last people to ask about that, so maybe someone else. But I think that's it for what I have to say. I don't have much of an opinion on the music. The movie is pretty, but that's like, it's kind of a standard for this. It's not. It's kind of like, okay, it should be pretty. Moving on, like.
Yeah.
But that's it. This was, again, despite everything, I still enjoyed this more than Your Name, and I know that might be a bit of a hot take or whatever you want to call it.
No. I can totally get it. Like, here's the difference. Your Name is a movie that starts off feeling like it's very good. It's just that, again, the more you think about it, and especially when the twist comes up, the whole thing holding it up really tends to fall apart. Weathering with You, while technically a worse movie, did arguably have a stronger opening and second act. It's just that the third act is so bad that, well, it overwrites any good there was. And that's not even getting into the fact that Weathering with You does feel like a much more disorganized mess given how much the plot jumps around from element to element as well.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's all I have to say about this.
Go ahead, Jova.
Wow. I'd like to say this movie weathered my expectations, but that would be lying.
More like weathering my ass.
I mean, look, good intentions or not, this ain't it. This is not it, Chief. Like, okay, the movie seems to get bored of itself from time to time, so it keeps changing up the formula here. First, it seems like it's these wacky hijinks behind this trio of misfits. Then it suddenly becomes about this get-rich-quick scheme, which also feels a bit like Slice of Life, but okay, an interesting enough idea. But then it goes surprisingly serious, and suddenly they're on the run and fugitives, and oh, the girl has to sacrifice herself because turns out the weather's been doing some stuff, and I guess God was the one who made that bubble that washed onto the two schoolboys, which, yeah, that never really got explained much, but I guess that was all part of the fact that she needed to sacrifice herself. Only no! Screw that! Let humanity die because the rain wills it, I guess. Like, oh boy. Look, I sighed in relief when I knew that we weren't gonna go with the typical, oh, the government wants to use her and whatnot. But honestly, if there's one thing about this film, I feel like we needed to see more of the city actually being terrible enough to at least give some credence to Hodaka doing this. Like, that's something that Life is Strange tried and failed at doing, but all the same, at least that game tried to make something of an argument that, oh, the people are terrible here and there. Here, okay, aside from maybe the cops and that one gangster guy, there's nothing to suggest that that city really deserved all that happened to them. Like, what the hell, boy? Are your loins just that on fire that you needed love to put it out by drenching it in the flooded homes of people who are dead because of it?
I think it's also a combination of things, Jova. Remember, everybody will still run away and had no idea what to do in his life until he found, the others and everything. And while he was run away with Hina, it was a thing that he knew that he could not come back to the life that he was having while writing for the Occult magazine. So I get that at that point, he literally had nothing else. Again, think of it just for his mentality. For the mentality, very restricted mentality that he had, where he could not believe returning for his family was a feasible option, the only thing that had remained, technically, was literally chasing a ghost.
It really does go back to the problem that we don't know enough about this kid's past to know if he really had it that bad, or if he was spoiled. Like, sure, yes, you could say that he had a terrible life. You could also say that he had a perfectly fine life, but just ran away to rebel against his parents with how much the film gives us here. And in which case, that just makes him come off as worse. And Shinkai even acknowledges that Hodaka's pretty messed up, but we should try and find it in our hearts to forgive and support him.
Allow me to help Jova's point. And again, to make my point stronger about what I was talking about with Teo. See, the thing is, this is key. The key aspect of character writing is we need to understand the characters. Not necessarily sympathize with them, not necessarily agree with them, but we need to understand their motivations, why their actions, why they're doing those actions, and understand why, and because that's how the person would relate to the character's decision. Like I said, the reason Joel's decision in The Last of Us Part 1 is so beloved, despite being a horrible decision in normal standards, is because we understand him. We understand why he's making this decision and what led him to this point. You know, Odaka, there's some semblance of an attempt to showcase how he comes to this point, but like Jova just said, we don't know enough about him. Like I said, that whole shit with the novel, explaining the thing with his parents, yeah, that should have been put in the movie. That way we could understand Hodaka better. And that way, potentially, we could possibly maybe understand his decision. Not necessarily get on his side, but at the very least, we understand how he got to this point. That's basically it. But Shinkai doesn't understand this, it seems. Go on.
It's just, man, it's again a frustrating precedent here. Like, okay, Your Name was frustrating in that I was enjoying it, but then when I realized how crap it was, while I still overall enjoyed the movie, I can't in faith call it a good one because of the blatant errors it makes. And when you really have time to think about it, yeah, true, Michael. At best, it was a guilty pleasure, and even still, one with tons of issues. Like, this movie really does have enjoyable elements here. It's just that when you put the whole thing together, though, it's like having a good appetizer, an okay entree, until you realize, man, suddenly half of this entree feels raw, uncooked. And then the dessert is just essentially, well, a bout of crap. Which ruins the whole thing for you, essentially. Like, and let me put it like this. Most of the problems do really come to a head in the third act. Like, there were problems sprouting up even before that. But it never felt like the movie was outright sinking, literally or figuratively, until the final act, where it's just, none of this works. Like, these feel like moments that, yes, were technically hinted at. There was literally a Chekhov's gun for this stuff. But a lot of it really just like a bout of a spur of the moment here, where it's like, oh, suddenly we're here. Like, whether or not it was hinted at, supposedly foreshadowed or whatnot, it does not feel like a good coherent narrative. Stuff is not explained well enough, and essentially it just leaves our two main leads looking to be either indecisive or despicable. Or a mixture of both here. I can get how it's more enjoyable than Your Name, but I can also see why it ended up being in Your Name's shadow here. Like, I'll give Your Name this, the characters did not feel this despicable. Did not feel as unrealistic as the third act makes them. And again, at least Your Name gave an ending that I could root for. The point is, this movie is a mess. A mess that essentially gets flooded away by its own stupidity in the end.
You know what this reminds me of, Jova, and the reason why I have a lot of fun with these movies, despite their terribleness. It reminds me of Indigo Prophecy, because Indigo Prophecy was back in the day where David Cage was already pretentious. Don't get me wrong, but there was still some kind of how should I put this?
Awareness.
Innocent delusion, you know. But you know, with every single game, he gets more and more pretentious and obnoxious. This reminds me of pre-Heavy Rain David Cage. You know, like the complete bonkers. Where the fuck did this come from? Type of narrative. You know. That's what this reminds me of. It reminds me of good old days of Indigo Prophecy, back when David Cage was at the very least not harming anybody, I think. So,
I see what you mean.
Go on.
Oh, but yeah, this is a mess. And it is, without a doubt, Shinkai's biggest mess so far to date. Let us hope he does not somehow top that with the next movie.
Joe, but this synopsis doesn't exactly fill me with hope.
All right.
How about determination?
And with that note,
determination, I'm totally watching this crap because, well, like I said, let me put it this way too. I know this guy is capable of doing much better than this, as demonstrated by 5 centimeters per second. But hey, if he's gonna keep making bad shit, at least it's funny. So there's that.
All right, Theo, on to you.
Sure. It is still a mess, but I honestly believe I can still understand most of the things that happen, particularly the whole thing about Odaka's intentions, as we were mentioned before. It's mostly the thing that we have mentioned that most of the stuff is undercooked. The major problem to me is that the usual stuff that happens with Shinkai is that there's too much stuff going on and easily one of these elements should be trimmed. To me, like I mentioned during the movie, it's very easy. Either remove Hina or Odaka, let the remaining teenager being focused with the adult characters, and have the mystery being going on that. Sure, you can have the whole family affair if you really want, but keep the focus on trying to figure out the mystery of Rain, maybe finding a solution to it, and have the police being the villains without having the whole, Hina has to be experimented by the government because blah, 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 Again, this showcase how the movie, while flawed, is easily fixable, But to me, it's more the case, again, that the movie does not go the extra mile to justify also the sweetness of the bittersweetness of the ending. As I mentioned, also our commentary, and also I think Shirei also did, but someone else also did for the final thoughts. If, other than the cops, all the other inhabitants of Tokyo were characterized to be violent, aggressive, prone to crime, and with a general behavior to his sorry?
I was the one who actually said that we needed the town to be, shown to be bad.
And I want to go for the extra mile. Even the other adult characters, so apologies for forgetting the name, but showcase the fact. Sorry?
You're talking about Suga and Natsumi, right?
Yes. While they are actually flawed, they still at their heart still good people. The worst I can say about him is the fact that he's irresponsible. But to be fair, everyone is in some kind of capacity, so I'm not gonna be that judgmental. But showcase more negative traits to justify also the fact that the flooding needed to happen, other than humanity has been bad and God has decided to clean slate. That way, if that was the case, if just that happened, I would be completely defending the ending to the till the day I die, because Japan also loves this kind of particular apocalyptic kind of ending. If you played any SMT game, there are usually that kind of options that do that, but a lot of premises of stories also involve that humanity needed to be reset as a cleansing of their sins, and through showcasing that sometimes Jehovah was wrong, other times might have been right, and other times, again, it's your protagonist that has to make the choice. But so it's a combination of things that are too much in the movie and things that are not in the movie that should have been in. So at the end of the day, it is still a bit of a mess. I'm not willing to say that it's the worst or the most damaged of Shinkai's products. I honestly think, okay, I guess Garden of Words still holds records to me as the lowest in the tier list. At the end of the day, I cannot just be mad at the guy, nor at the movies for that matter. I still, at the end of the day, I forgot exactly, to be precisely, what my own thought about Your Name was, but I still do enjoy it in the end, words and all. This not as much, but I do believe there was potential to be a great movie, just with minimal touching, not to the stuff of just make it slice of life, Just with that minimal extra touch, rather than a massive overall. I do believe, though, that some of the executive meddling worked for the better, like, again, shifting from sci-fi, as we mentioned. the whole political stuff in the interview was just no, please. Like, I don't do it for defending the parts involved that were mentioned. I'm just, as a non-American, I'm just very, very tired of keep hearing about people that should not be talked about in general. So yeah, I guess I'm looking forward to the next movie to see what's gonna happen. Probably, like Pedro said, probably a mess. But to go also to conclude also my final thoughts with answering the question that was posed. What will you do for someone who you care about? Well, I don't have anyone who fits that description as in an equivalent to Ina, definitely. Not to the point where I hate some people like these guys. Don't worry about that. It's just that, to the point of someone who I would love that much for it. But if that was the case, yes. Pedro did partially did something that I'm about to say, mention, and the fact that humanity does not deserve, the same attention that I would have for someone I care. Is he selfish? Yes, definitely. Which is also another theme of Shinkai movies, like I mentioned. But is it selfish? Yes. But as I stated multiple times, I don't consider myself that good of a person like that. And this I said off commentary. If it was a situation kind of like in Death Stranding, where I got the same ideal, powers like Hicks, I would kind of be in the same situation. Despite everything, I'm just not having that good of an opinion of humanity. But if it was actually if instead was actually for saving someone that I cared about, I will do it. Not just humanity, but even myself, if it was the case. But don't take it just as selfless. Considering again going the extra mile, even potentially something like what happens in this movie, just for better reasons that are portrayed here. And to conclude, considering all the circumstances what you guys told, I'm definitely curious to see what's gonna happen when we eventually come to the first Drakengard, because the story kind of goes above and beyond with this kind of theming, and it will be up to you guys to see if it's the story justifies enough to say that. So at the very least, I guess it will be interesting. Pedro.
Okay, so I think I've made very clear, Shinkai, restraint. Restraint is the key word. Please, in all that rethinking and regretting, as you put it, that you've done ever since you finished both movies, start doing that while the movie's being made. Okay? Here's an idea, Shinkai. Don't write into the script the very first thought that comes into your head. Instead, you think about, okay, what would be the logical thing for the character to do in this situation according to his personality? And you do this, and you do that, and you do that. Well, okay, what is the logical way I can lead from this tone to this tone? But no, fuck that shit. Let's just completely shift. And it's just no, it doesn't work. Okay. The music. Okay. Again, let me make it clear. I have nothing against Yoshihiro Noda. I'm sure he's a nice guy, and apparently he's very well liked by Japanese audiences. That's cool. Great for him. But as someone who has been watching Shinkai stuff for, at this point, years, way before he became famous. Remember, I was watching Shinkai movies before it was cool. So I miss Tenmon so much. Seriously, if you want to compare, Dwelve was talking about how the songs feel out of place. This would never happen in pre-Your Name Shinkai movies. Seriously, go back if you want an example. Go back and listen to the main themes of Promised Place and 5 centimeters per second. That shit is beautiful music, and it's entirely orchestra. And it elevated the material so much because of how beautiful the music was. The songs, like Dwight said, feel out of place. Like we're in the middle of a really tense scene, not emotional tense. With the whole gun pointing at Suda thing. This is supposed to be a tense scene. Therefore, there should be either no music at all, or just a track that's very somber, very subdued to allow the character's tension to supersede the music. But then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, right after the gunshot, suddenly a happy-pappy J-pop song, and it's so distracting.
Apparently, okay. I don't particularly care for it, but from what I did heard, apparently that kind of tactic was successful with your name. People genuinely did like Kimi no Na.
Sure.
The way it was paced anyway. So I get the idea that they wanted to replicate that at the very least.
Oh, sure. I understand, and I also don't particularly care for.
No, I know that.
With your name, anyway. Again, like I said, Tenmon come back. Well, then again, Shinkai really loves working with Noda, so I guess we're never gonna have Tenmon back. Oh well. The basic point is, yes, the songs are distracting. Like, I mean, the scene already doesn't work at all because for all of the reasons that Joe already described. Because the movie at this point goes complete bonkers. The actions that Odaka is doing don't really feel justified, even by his own standards. Like, it feels like there's too much of a shit. Like, okay, I get that he's a teenager and he's very tense and he's very stressed and he's, of course, does mistakes, as Shinkai puts it. But no, this is too much. This is not a teenager who's just innocently making mistakes. No, this is a kid who's clearly has some kind of psychological issues that need to be dealt with. Because this is not normal. Like, and again, that would be fine if the movie acknowledged it, but the movie seems to be under the impression that this kid clearly doesn't have any kind of sociopathic issues. It doesn't seem to be aware of it, or if it is, it clearly doesn't make the sociopathic nature to its advantage. Because you can have these kinds of things used to your advantage of your story, you can. But the movie doesn't really, like I said, the movie doesn't even seem to be aware of it, to be honest with you. But anyway, yeah. That fucking third act is bonkers. It's insane. It doesn't feel earned. The moral implications are terrible because the movie doesn't take its own moral stance. Okay, sorry, it takes its own moral stance, but it doesn't try to properly provide a context where this decision is at the very least understandable and somewhat relatable. And the only way to make this relatable would be to flesh out the bloody characters. Shinkai, here's an idea. Look, Shinkai, you got it wrong. You shouldn't make your movies shorter. You should make them longer. If you really insist on these super epic world-shattering plots, if you really want to keep doing these, you need to elongate your movies, dude. You need to allow these movies to have the time to breathe and allow the characters to be fleshed out, allow the plot lines to be properly fleshed out, allow for, as Jova puts it, a proper bridge between tones. You know, if you want to tell a story with this much crap into it, you can't have it be 1 hour and 50 minutes. That's not long enough. There's a reason why Endgame is 3 hours long. Because to tell what that movie wants to tell would not be possible in a 90-minute movie. So yeah, if you need to make that shit longer, not shorter. But the fact that he was even considering making this thing 7 minutes shorter shows that he clearly isn't unaware of that. So, and that's why I'm not really have any hope for the next movie being that much better, because this guy clearly has lost his marbles. Clearly. Yeah. What else? The animation is gorgeous. Although, yeah, I don't particularly care for the use of CGI. I really that's another thing from the older movies. I really wish the entire thing could be hand drawn, but to be fair, it still looks good. The movie still looks good overall. It still looks beautiful. That being said, like I said, I still make some better use of your CGI, dude. That's all. All right, that was Weathering with You.
Happy birthday, Pedro. Happy 2022. Hopefully. At this point, it needs to be taken with a grain of salt. I still wish for us to do at some point the short that he did at first, The Voices of a Distant Star. So we'll see what happens to that.
I saw the short. The reason I haven't made it as part of one of these commentaries is because I don't find that short particularly interesting to talk about. Well, maybe one day we'll get to it, but honestly, trust me, we're not missing that much. It's just a very basic short that doesn't really do anything particularly noteworthy, in my opinion. Which is why I'm not particularly in a hurry commentate on that, to be honest with you. This movie, on the other hand, I did, because this movie is incredibly fascinating.
Well, there's still a new movie coming out next year. We'll see what happens with that, I guess.
So yeah, will Shinkai's next movie be better, or will it be even more bonkers? At this point, I'm leaning on the latter, because just reading that synopsis pretty much tells me everything I need to know.
See ya.
To see.
See ya then.
See ya.